A day late, but not a dollar short. Welcome to the Mangalorian. Hope you're having a great day today. It's Danny. Jordan is right over there. Trying to make sure my camera's correct. Right over there. So we're going to be covering Dragon Ball Super Manga Volume 8 today. I had some problems yesterday with my... just a word of advice to everybody out there who wants to buy a home. If you're one of those people that want to go and buy your own house, owning your own home is wonderful, right? It's wonderful to have the privacy. You can do what you want with it. You can customize it however you want, but get ready because there's a lot of hidden costs, including things like fixing stuff when it breaks. And in my case, I had a leaking water heater and it was a motherfucker, excuse my language, to get to the right person to fix it. So I'm just letting you know, owning a home is great, but it can be a huge pain in the ass. I live in the suburbs. Jordan, you live in the middle of the woods, so you understand, but you face a different set of challenges that I don't even face.
Yeah. I mean, having your own place and being responsible for all the upkeep and all the maintenance stuff like that is not easy. It is a huge responsibility.
My house is paid off, completely paid off, and on one hand, it's like, oh, well, you don't have to.
Trenton said the roof alone can be expensive. Get this, bro.
That's like the most expensive thing.
my place years ago got hit with a windstorm and the entire roof got ripped off. So I had to buy an entirely, and it was
how much was it? $30K?
It was like $11K to get.
I knew it had to be a lot.
Yeah, it was like $11K to get the new roof. But anyway, it happened right before there was supposed to be a storm. So my place has no roof, and it's getting ready to storm. So
you're about to get blown away.
My wife called her family, and I went to a neighbor's house, and I told him about what had happened. And he had these like panels that they use for construction work that are waterproof. And my family, or my wife's family, came over, and we got on top of the roof, and we nailed all that stuff down onto the roof within like an hour and a half to prevent water from getting into my place and ruining my place. So we had to like on the fly, just fix it with like makeshift tools just to make sure that like I didn't lose my house. So yeah, it is a lot of upkeep and responsibility.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing I want people to know. If you're gonna get a home, like I said, mine is paid off, so I don't pay a mortgage every month. I don't pay rent, and that's great. But what I do pay is upkeep, and you got to mow your lawn and all kinds of other stuff. So it is what it is. But we're gonna get our minds off of that today because Jordan, we are still in the Tournament of Power. We are still in, put the chat up there. By the way, folks, before we dig in, I just want to say, remember, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you're in Houston, Texas, I'll be at Comic Palooza. I'm flying out there in 2 days. I'm excited. Come say hi. Should be a great time. Yeah, I hope I get to meet everybody I want to meet. So... yeah. Should be a good time. Volume 8 of Dragon Ball Super. We are in the Tournament of Power right now. And the first sort of section... so this chapter is called Awaken Super Saiyan Kale. Now, this first sort of part of the manga is basically Frieza against the Universe 6 Saiyans. Mm-hmm. They start with Frieza against Caulifla. And that's, this is sort of the first kind of big main event fight here.
I like this because Caulifla is so excited about having Super Saiyan, and Frieza is just so numb at this point to fighting Super Saiyans that like when Caulifla transforms, he's like, psh, that ain't. He basically like humbles her like right off the bat. He's like, I know all about that. I don't care. It's really funny.
It's also cool because he used to be afraid of him. And now it's like
cool. It's like character development. Yeah, that's true.
One thing I will praise Toyotaro for as well is I think Toyotaro is excellent at doing Frieza's funny faces. Look at the face right over here, for example, on the left. Toyotaro's really good at doing funny Frieza faces. This whole volume, like all of it. You know, Frieza's using his telekinetic powers here on Caulifla. They're going back and forth.
Their own Kamehameha, basically.
Kinda. It looks a lot like it. I mean, except that her fingers are,
it's
different.
Like, it's kind of like her version of it, you know. You can tell that Toyotaro enjoys drawing Frieza. Like,
look at the face.
You can tell that he has fun drawing Frieza when he draws him. Like you can see that he like genuinely enjoys drawing him in different ways and putting it. And I guess he would be fun and interesting to draw because he honestly he doesn't have hair. The main thing that you have to get right is his body anatomy, and at that point, afterwards, his face. So he would be a fun character to draw. So I can see why he does such a good job. You know?
He's also a fun character to write for. Like that's, he's my favorite character because of he's an interesting character. Here we start to see the destruction of the stage. That would, of course, play out in both the anime and manga versions. Kale is alerted to this whole thing. Frieza is basically about to tap into his full power. And now this is the manga debut of Golden Frieza. We have not seen Golden Frieza, at least not in real combat, in the manga until now. So Golden Frieza should be able to just completely smash through Caulifla, even though Caulifla is very, very strong. You can see here that Golden Frieza has his way with her. He has the speed advantage besides just the power. All action stuff from Toyotaro.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
like
here
Super Saiyan. It's like,
right.
That's another really cool thing about it is like you were talking about Frieza's character development. The fact that he achieved his own, I guess you could say, evolution through the same type of training that Goku had to go through to get Super Saiyan. A lot of people don't really think about Golden Frieza that way, even though it's obviously gold and everything. But what makes Golden Frieza's golden form like Super Saiyan is that Super Saiyan is the result of martial arts-based training. And that is how Golden Frieza exists. That's the reason it exists. It's because Frieza was forced to, for the first time in his life, train as a martial artist. So it is his Super Saiyan form in that sense. And the fact that, he is using what he learned in his experience with Goku to have the advantage against Caulifla is also ironic in this scenario.
Yeah, and I think Frieza, if I remember right, stated that he chose that color on purpose. Yeah. So it was clearly to, show Goku I can go golden too. But then the counter to that was, well, now I can go blue. Yeah. So I don't even use that much anymore is what he basically said. So here we have Kale. Now, this right here is a great opportunity, I think, for us to talk about and again, we don't have to, I don't want to talk about this the rest of the stream, but it needs to be brought up now. This is a great example of how modern Dragon Ball has a lot of cooks in the kitchen, because it's been made clear through interviews that Kale was not a creation of Akira Toriyama. Kale was not in Akira Toriyama's manuscript for the Tournament of Power. Kale was created by Toei via a suggestion from Akio Ioku because of the popularity of Dragon Ball Z's version of Broly. Kale was like the female version of Broly, which is why, especially in the anime, you have to remember, those of you who forgot, when the Tournament of Power chapters were coming out in the manga, the anime was already way past this. So this is following the anime. And even though people say, well, Toyotaro worked closer with Toriyama, and that is somewhat true, he still put Kale in, even though it wasn't an Akira Toriyama creation. But the problem is that when people read these chapters, and I've gotten into this argument a lot and I'm sick of it, where they say, where the manga says art Toyotaro, story Toriyama, or written by Toriyama. The base story was written by Toriyama, but the actual chapter for chapter is not. I've talked about that a gazillion times. It's Toyotaro.
He's not even, actually Toyotaro is not even allowed to just write whatever he wants. I think it was like 6 months ago or something like that. They did an interview with him because they had this contest where they were trying to pick the best Goku line from Dragon Ball Super. There was like I don't know if you remember that or not, but like they had it was like a bunch of special guests from Dragon Ball as a product. They had the guy that made the wafer stickers.
I don't remember that.
The trading cards, Toyotaro. They had like a meeting between all of them. It was like some sort of like special thing that they were doing. But anyway, so they were having this thing where they were all voting on Goku's best line from all of Dragon Ball, like his best dialogue line from all of Dragon Ball. And Toyotaro actually explained, he was like, particularly with Dragon Ball Super, he said it's very often that my dialogue nor Toriyama's dialogue gets approved. Like basically, Shueisha Toriyama is a legend, but they're both still an employee of Shueisha, and Shueisha still has editors that make sure the manga is marketable to them. Okay, they have their own standard. So sometimes they can come up with a concept, a page, like we talked about in the last Mangalorian. There's that page that got rejected by Toyotaro where he drew Belmont's angel feeding him.
Right.
And then that got rejected. There's a lot of stuff that they come up with in the creative process that just gets rejected. And that also applies to the dialogue. When you're doing dialogue within a manga, a dialogue line within a single bubble can be it can be like not approved by Shueisha. So they have to read the lines, they have to read the dialogue in each individual bubble and have it approved by Shueisha. And just because Toriyama or Toyotaro come up with what that dialogue line should be, does not mean that it's going to be approved. So it goes way beyond. Basically, I'm feeding into your point that just because
many cooks in the kitchen,
just because Toriyama writes the script, does not mean that when they take the physical product to Shueisha, that Shueisha is not going to make changes. That they are obligated to make changes because they have an editorial section at Shueisha and Jump that basically does quality control. So it's part of their job. And basically, I guess what I'm trying to say is, because I've been doing manga for a long time, you don't get to just do whatever you want. That's not how it works. That's never how it ever worked. And even back during the Z era, anytime Toriyama's editors thought he was doing something that wasn't going to entertain his audience, they would suggest for him to do other things to entertain his audience. That's where Cell came from. So it's in terms of making manga, it's not as simple and straightforward as people would like to think. I think a lot of people have this like perception where you get to just draw a page or draw like a chapter and like all of it gets approved like right off the bat. That is not how it works at all. It is a very strenuous, horrible process to go through in terms of getting things approved. And, it's not even just Akio that's a cook in the kitchen. There's like entire sections of editorial people in Shueisha and who work for Jump who have to approve things, through different layers. So it is way more complicated than people would like to think.
Well, we know that Toriyama's first editor was Torishima, and he's been talking a lot lately. Some of the stuff that's been going around that he's been saying is like misinformation, and so that's why I haven't even covered a lot of that, because Naz Chris is like on the warpath, shutting down misinformation, dude. Why I haven't touched it until we get the full translations of everything correctly. So if you're out there and you're reading up on Torishima's comments, grain of salt those, because there's a lot of misinformation. When it comes to Dragon Ball Super, we know that the editor of Dragon Ball Super, Toyotaro's quote-unquote boss, is Victory Uchida. But what's interesting about that is we almost never hear any stories. With Torishima was not only Toriyama's editor on the manga, but he also helped Toriyama with regards to working with Toei, and even was the guy who put Toriyama on Dragon Quest. So Torishima and Toriyama have been tied together on multiple projects. You never really hear Toyotaro talk that much about Victory Uchida. And the only thing I can really think of as far as what the reasoning for that is because they either get along really well or they don't get along at all. It's got to be one of those two.
Right.
I think it's probably more so they get along fine because we've seen them together on some of those Dragon Ball news videos that the website drops on Mondays that are hosted by Victory Uchida.
Yeah.
But we just don't hear that much about him, considering that he is the editor. He is Toyotaro's editor, that is to say. But my point is this. If you want to talk about the canon, everyone wants to throw that word around. If you want to talk about what Akira Toriyama's true canon is, Kale does not exist. Kale was not created by him. Kale was a creation it was purposely meant to capitalize on the Dragon Ball Z version of Broly, almost like make fun of it, before Toriyama himself would create his own version of Broly for Dragon Ball Super Broly on Akio's suggestion. So we have two Broly archetypes in the Dragon Ball universe. That's what Kale's purpose is. Right. It's marketing. It's literally marketing. Whereas
he did give her narrative purpose within the story, but yes, the purpose of her existence.
No. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, they gave her stuff to do, but her existence is meant to remind people of Broly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know why you're bringing up Koyama. We're not talking about Dragon Ball Z. We're talking about Super right now. I don't know. Maybe you're getting your names mixed up. But yeah, the point I'm trying to make is Kale is not created by Akira Toriyama, yet she's in both the anime and manga. So then that would lead people to say, oh, well, then that means she's canon. But Toriyama didn't create her. So where does that leave you? And this is yet another example as to why there is no real canon. There's a guy out there, I'm not going to say his name, and he basically made a video saying that he doesn't understand. I mean, in a much more rude way, he doesn't understand when I say there's no canon, and he wants to debate me. I'm not going to debate him, and I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Number 1, if you're going to make a video about me before even talking to me, I consider that drama, and I think at that point we're not going to work together.
Right.
Secondly, if I debate this kid and I really, really go 100% like Frieza would, I'm going to fucking make him cry off the internet. I will humiliate this fucking kid in front of everybody because I have never and will never lose a canon debate. Because this is a topic I know very, very well, and I've done extensive research on it. You're not going to beat me on the canon debate, dude. You're not. And that goes for everybody out there. You're not. You can tell me your canon, and I will poke holes in it very, very easily, unless you are very specific and very knowledgeable. Right. And that's rare. I'm not talking about you, Jordan. I'm talking about these people who continue to who actually have the audacity to doubt me. I find it funny that I get doubted so much, and yet every single time I get doubted, I get proven right at some point.
Right.
So
no, man, you definitely know your stuff when it comes to canon. That's for sure.
All right, I see what Hazen was talking about. He's right. Koyama did create Broly, so Kale is indirectly because of him. No, you're right. I didn't think you were even... I thought, okay, when I saw your comment, me and Jordan had already moved past that. So now it all makes sense. No, you're right. Koyama is responsible for Kale in an indirect way. Well, how do you feel about Kale, bro? Because I never really minded her. Like, I didn't think it was a bad thing. Just whatever to me. I'm sure Griffin doesn't like it. Griffin's a purist.
I love it. No, and I don't think Griffin dislikes her either. I'll talk about her a bit more when we get to the scene where she transforms.
The big part. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk about her a bit more when we get to
Look at Frieza's face. This is what I was talking about, because I looked at the chapter earlier. These faces, I love Toyotaro's Frieza faces, bro. They're awesome. Right. So again, Frieza's got his hands full with Caulifla. I enjoy this stuff. These fights between Caulifla and Frieza were not in the anime. And one of the things I like about now that we're rereading the Tournament of Power manga version is that we are getting fights that we didn't really get. We are getting differences, different
and
things.
it's interesting that Golden Frieza against Caulifla too. That's interesting.
And speaking of the cat, go ahead, bro. And I'll finish.
Well, that's Goku had to match Golden Frieza with Blue. So the fact that like Caulifla is just like he brought out Golden against Caulifla says a lot about the Universe 6 Saiyans and just how strong they are in comparison to. Basically, it kind of reaffirms what Vegeta said about Kaba in the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament about Kaba being so strong. And you know, I do think that Toriyama and Toyotaro know that within a contained version of Dragon Ball, they're never going to get to play with characters like Goten and Trunks at mass in terms of having these like super prodigies who were born easily be able to turn Super Saiyan as kids and have all these S cells and stuff like that. So I do feel like the Universe 6 Saiyans are kind of like their way of creating an entire race of super prodigies, so to speak, because they went through like a very similar developmental process as what created beings like Goten and Trunks in terms of, you know, they basically got to evolve. They were never, their evolution was never held back by being in dire straits and being on the verge of going extinct as a species all the time. So it's almost like if you took the Saiyans and you put them on a planet where they thrived instead of they were constantly killing each other and going through these cycles of destruction over and over again. That's essentially why the Universe 6 Saiyans are so strong. It's like if you had a planet full of Gokus and they just had like thousands of years to get stronger, that's essentially why the Universe 6 Saiyans are the way they are. They're more advanced in that sense. Now, in terms of Kale here, I will say I really like how Kale is characterized in the manga here prior to Super Saiyan in comparison to how she's characterized in the anime. Because in the anime, she's much more like Broly from the Broly film, where she's just kind of talking underneath her breath.
Not just that, but they actually take shots from the Broly movie, like Goku doing the Kamehameha to Broly's face. That entire episode, I think it was Super Episode 100. Dragon Ball Super Episode 100, bro. There's like 4 or 5 different shots that are storyboarded directly from the first Broly movie.
Right. Her behavior here, and this is where Toyotaro's flavor really starts to come in. When I remember when I first read this, I distinctly remember that when Toyotaro did Dragon Ball AF, he characterized Broly in a very unique way. Toyotaro has never characterized Broly the way that Koyama himself characterized Broly when he writes him. He's always characterized him as something slightly different, like a slightly different version that he had in his head that's not necessarily completely accurate to how he was characterized by Koyama in the films. And when I was reading this the first time, the way that Kale behaves reminds me a lot of how Toyotaro ultimately tried to characterize Broly in Dragon Ball AF. Because in Dragon Ball AF, Broly ends up becoming not necessarily a good guy, but he's just kind of a serious presence on the battlefield in comparison to Goku and Vegeta in terms of being quiet and stoic and having respect for Goku and Vegeta and stuff like that. So the way that she's characterized here reminds me a lot of how Toyotaro used to characterize Broly, and I've always found that very interesting because I never thought I would see that happen in official Dragon Ball. I never thought that I would see AF bleeding into original Dragon Ball like that. Like I never thought I would see that in a million years.
Well, once Toyotaro got hired, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, I know, but I always figured he would put up an effort to not let that stuff bleed in to the official product. But here, it's like every time I go back and read AF, I'm like, this is just Kale. So it's undeniable in this sense.
Yeah. The what's going on here, right, is that the Universe Six Saiyans are all working together against Frieza. It really is like like similar to what really Frieza's got new beef with new Saiyans. Even Kaba gets involved. Golden Frieza's too much for them. That's what this whole chapter really is about, and it's Kale trying to tap into that power and that rage, and she is able to do it. So finally we have Super Saiyan Kale. It's a little bit different. You know, a lot of people will say like, oh, well, like there's people who are actually on the level who will say, you know, Danny, I agree with you. There is no canon, but do you think that there should be? And that's a good question. And like that actually is a thought-provoking question, because on one hand, yeah, it would make things easier, but on the other hand, part of me kind of likes that the manga does different things. And like I said, the anime has the Goku Kefla thing as a throwback to Broly. The manga chooses not to do that. And I think it actually works better that way, because Broly was never in the manga. The original Broly from Z was never a manga character. It was movies only. 3
Right.
Dragon Ball Z movies. So
Right.
the animation team, they know how to do Broly. So
Yeah.
instead, what Toyotaro opted to do is, instead of just mimicking the anime, to give us something different. So I kind of like that there's 2 different continuities when it comes
Yeah,
to
me too.
Super. I
Me
really,
too.
yeah. In some cases, I can see why it's annoying, but yeah, this is different, because even the way that this Kefla looks, this version of, I'm sorry, Kale. This version of Kale, even though it is supposed to be legendary Super Saiyan Broly if it was a woman, it really doesn't look that much like Broly. If you notice, the anime version is wider and bigger. This looks just like a woman who like an Amazonian Super Saiyan, right? It doesn't look like Broly that much in the manga, and I feel like Toyotaro said, okay, well they did that in the he said they did that in the anime. Let me do something different for the manga. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And her characterization is just way more unique in comparison to that. Kind of comes back to what I was saying. Like, that's the reason I appreciate that there's multiple continuities, because it gives them the opportunity to kind of flesh out how they're going to characterize the characters. And in this sense, they did it in a way that was more unique than just basically trying to copy Broly. So that's what I appreciate about it.
And she seems to be in a little bit more control than she was in the Dragon Ball Z anime. So
Yep.
at least it seems that way. So now Goku's trying to figure out what's going on. Kale literally back fists Frieza. I mean, that's a great shot right there. And you can even see Frieza saying, "Oh, this is a new type of Super Saiyan," because he's never seen anything like this. It's not really the same thing. It's not the same thing.
No.
It's there are shades of Broly, but it's not like, this is not like what Goku and them do. Goku goes into blue, and then it's Kale versus Goku. But again, the imagery is not the same as in the anime. The fight works different.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's
and I mean, it makes sense. Just going with the same approach to what happened in the anime would be ridiculous. Like, I'm really glad that we get a more unique. And also, here's another really cool thing. This every time Dragon Ball comes out with more content, the stuff from before gets more interesting. And that's something I really like. And that happens a lot. It happens particularly a lot in modern Dragon Ball, because it's building onto itself and
Right.
referencing itself so often that it makes the stuff that's happened previously more interesting. So, for example,
Well,
in
it gives
Dragon
me
Ball-
fodder to make videos to connect them.
yeah. In Dragon Ball Super Broly, we have that scene where Golden Frieza just gets absolutely pounded by Broly for like an hour.
Pause.
Yeah. And this is very, very similar to that. And what's interesting about that, and this is something a lot of people overlook about the Broly film, when King Vegeta sent Broly off, it was supposed to be ironic, because what King Vegeta did was he sent the only hope that his planet had of defeating Frieza off the planet.
Yep.
Okay, so Broly was
at that time.
If King Vegeta had never sent him off the planet, Frieza would have been destined to have this beating the whole time. You know, unless Frieza managed to wipe out the planet before Broly turned into Super Saiyan, which is very
well, I mean, he did. He actually did.
What would have? It's supposed to be ironic because King Vegeta screwed himself by not keeping Broly and training him, but he also indirectly saved Broly by saving him off the planet.
Right.
So it's like double irony there. But
the
anyway,
Broly movie. The beautiful thing about the Broly movie, and I said this a million times. It's about Goku, Vegeta, Broly, and their fathers, and the decisions that Bardock, King Vegeta, and Paragus made, and how those decisions affected the destiny of the three kids. That's why, Jordan, whenever people, I'm not going to name no names, but where's Gohan at? Gohan should be in the movie. Why isn't Gohan there? And it's like, it's not his fucking story. He got the next movie. But Gohan! I watched him when I was a kid. He killed the Cell Jr. It's not about him. It's about those the three surviving purebloods and their dad. But Gohan, he should have done something. And it's like, fuck, bro.
But anyway, I think that Toyotaro.
It's not his story.
I think Toyotaro is purposely having this fight between Frieza and Kale be exaggerated and go on for so long to kind of play on the fact that, because if you remember, we were just talking about how Frieza wasn't scared of the Super Saiyans anymore. And he was used to fighting Super Saiyans at this point. But now he's fighting the mutant.
Something different, yeah.
Yeah, he's fighting the mutant that defined the legend. And that makes this a little bit different because it's like, wait a minute. It almost kind of, and I don't want to think about it this way because it makes it seem as though they have like a unique Super Saiyan form. That's not what it is. They're unique Saiyans. A lot of people think that what makes them unique is their Super Saiyan forms, but no, it's the fact that they are unique Saiyans that gives them unique.
Read what I have up on the screen there. This is why when I ignore the chat, it's because of shit like this.
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know.
That's good.
Just letting you know. I personally gave up the idea of a canon a long time ago when it comes to stuff outside of the original manga. P.S. Geekdom, love your videos, man. Well, I'm glad you said that because you're on the right track. You are on the right track. Now,
Goku says her chi spiked up again.
Yeah, she's powering up further into her rage. It's kind of like what Gohan does.
I remember I made a video on my YouTube channel called
Okay, you were trolling. I got you. Go ahead.
Called Chi versus Magic. And it was basically like explaining the difference between Chi and Magic. It was something I made when Dragon Ball Daima came out. And there were the comment section, and this is very rare you're going to hear me complain about stuff like this, but I am going to complain about it. The comment section was just full of people correcting me, saying the word ki, being like it's not
knowing that it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, and it's just.
Brother,
please,
what about the fact that when I say Saiyan, remember, bro, here's the thing. I can make, and this has happened before, and this goes for you as well. I can make a video that explores the deepest themes of Dragon Ball. Everything is perfectly sourced and cited properly. Everything is accurate to Toriyama. Everything's been well researched. But the minute that I said that I pronounce it Saiyan, I don't know what I'm talking about. Literally, I could talk about shit that these fucking cracker fans have never heard of in their whole life. These fucking hillbillies from fucking Kansas that watched Toonami once. I could break shit, no offense to you. I could break shit down to a T, but the minute that I say Saiyan, why do you pronounce it like that? Nobody talks like that. It's just, let's not even talk about that. So, Kale is now... like Gohan, the rage helps.
Yeah,
and
I want to explain something. The reason I brought up Chi is because I want to give you guys a quick explanation as to what Chi actually is, because a lot of people don't know what it is. Okay, a lot of people don't know what Chi is. They have no idea. Like when I talk about Yin and Yang in reference to Dragon Ball, people look at me like I'm crazy. But Chi.
Try pronouncing it Saiyan.
But chi in Chinese mythology and in Japanese methodology is a mixture of yin and yang energy. Okay, and yin and yang energy is just opposites. It's just two things that come together and they create a burst of energy. Okay, and in this case, within the context of martial arts, what happens is you've got your emotions. Okay, you've got your emotions, and your emotions cause a huge burst of energy. Now, that energy cannot reach its full potential unless it is being filtered through a calm and disciplined martial artist. Okay, so a ki, for example, in martial arts, what's happening is you're not just getting angry and hitting somebody. That's not what you're doing. You're using your emotions filtered through your disciplined mind, your disciplined consciousness as a martial artist to essentially cause an adrenaline spike and then use your discipline and control, your consciousness to use that energy the most effectively you possibly can. And that collision between emotion, adrenaline, and this calm, disciplined mindset is where ki comes from. Okay, ki is a side effect of two opposites colliding within your own body. Okay, that's essentially what ki is. That calm mindset, that calm discipline developed, or that calm developed discipline mindset that you develop as a martial artist serves as a filter to basically allow you to be able to produce ki. If you don't, basically, just having emotion and just having a calm mind is not enough for you to produce ki. You have to have both. You have to have the disciplined mind of a martial artist, and you also have to have, you have to be susceptible to huge emotional shocks, right? Now, what happens when you are powered with ki is, because ki is yin and yang energy, it's really easy for you to be thrown off balance. And in Dragon Ball, Toriyama basically he took yin and yang and he redefined it as Goku's nature as an Earthling and his nature as a Saiyan. Okay, so whenever Goku's nature as a Saiyan kicks in and he starts getting more aggressive, that is because he has too much yang energy. Because what yang energy does is it makes you overly aggressive, overly confident, overly emotional. It makes you destructive. So all of the character traits that you see Goku portray on Namek when he becomes a Super Saiyan is a side effect of his spike in chi and being out of balance and having too much yang energy. And he has to balance himself using his yin energy. So what's happening here is,
and the same thing happened to Gohan in the Cell Saga.
That's true. Yeah. So what's happening here is Kale is going through an endless.
Your mic is bad. Like you sound like you're far away.
Kale is going through like an endless loop of going through these emotional shocks that cause these huge spikes of chi over and over and over again.
Women, am I right?
And the reason she's losing control is because chi itself is vital energy. The more you have, the more energized and ecstatic you feel. It's almost like an adrenaline rush. The more ki you have, the more naturally emotionally volatile you are. So if you have a lot of ki, it makes you super not emotionally sensitive in terms of being like easily sad and depressed and stuff like that. It makes you more like explosive. So if something around you was to happen to cause you that would normally you'd be able to keep your cool and maybe not necessarily get angry, if you have a lot of ki, it's that much harder for you not to have a huge emotional reaction to things, especially if you have too much yang energy. And what happens with that is that causes you to, every time you give in to that emotional shock, it spikes your ki even more. And it creates this like endless loop of emotional shocks that just cause your ki to just constantly ramp up. So essentially what I'm saying is being emotionally sensitive is a side effect of having a lot of ki. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand about ki. They just think that it's like energy. They just think the more you have, the stronger you are. And that's not how it works.
You're basing this off of hold on. Now I figured it out. This whole thing is from that fucking Twitter shit where these assholes were talking about how I was saying that Gohan didn't really have half power, like he said. He had more ki inside of him and Goku knew it, and I was right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you were right.
because Gohan at half power couldn't have killed Super Perfect Cell, bro. Bullshit. But he still fucking did it because he tapped into, because he had more energy inside he didn't even know about. Goku was telling him to unleash his yang at the very, very end. When he said hit him, that's unleash all your yang. But whatever, bro. What the fuck do I know? What do I know?
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
In the Cell Saga,
I don't know shit.
In the Cell Saga, that's what Goku and Gohan are doing in the time chamber. They're essentially mastering the effect that an increased amount of chi has on their emotional and their mental state. It makes you more emotionally volatile. It just makes you in a state where you're permanently more emotionally volatile. So when they mastered Super Saiyan, they were essentially numb to that effect. It made it to where they didn't have, it wasn't as easy for them to suffer from these emotional shocks that would cause spikes in ki. So when Gohan finally did experience an intense enough emotional shock, that's what pushed him into Super Saiyan 2. So that's how this, basically what I'm trying to say is when you see Super Saiyans walking around powered up as Super Saiyan, they're not just powered up. They're in an ecstatic, emotionally sensitive state that they have to actively control. So, and part of the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people don't understand that, and they think that Kale and Broly, for example, losing control is just a side effect of the fact that they're mutants. And it is, but it's not a side effect of the fact that they're mutants in the way that you think that it is. It's a side effect of the fact that they have so much energy, and so much energy comes out as a side effect of their emotions so easily that they just lose control as a side effect of their ki itself. So if we go back to the manga, you'll notice that that's what Vados actually says. She says that every time we have the manga not on screen, but every time.
Okay, we had it, but yeah.
Yeah. Every time she gets stronger, the explosion of strength makes her lose more of her reason, and that's the reason I wanted to explain all that, because a lot of people don't understand when Kale when she
she says all sense and reason, but yeah,
right. A lot of people don't understand why she's losing all her sense and reason, and it's because of the effect that ki itself has on your psychological state.
But sometimes when you're mad, you do lose control. That's the whole point. I mean, it happens. I can attest to that. 12th Crashmaster. I look at Dragon Ball as a Xenoverse. Different timelines, continuities, including manga, anime, movies, and games. Similar events, differences across, but all of it's DB at the end of the day. Yeah. There you go. All right, chapter 38. So we have a nice little splash page talking about Universe 4. This is, of course, now more of the raging Kale, and she's getting stronger and stronger. Like she's got potential. This is obvious, like major potential here. And
she's not a scrawny anymore either. She's not a scrawny Super Saiyan anymore either. She's jacked.
She's getting bigger, right? Now, here she's about to go in and just fuck people up. So, even Vegeta's getting knocked around, Topo. That's one of the things about the manga version is, again, Toyotaro. I can't answer. I already told them, nope. Wait a minute. Hold on. No, I'm not going to. I'm sorry, bro. You knew that was going to happen with the call that I got before we went on the air.
Cool.
Like, no, it annoys me because, like, I told them, hey, I have to start work, but nobody cares. Okay, so, okay, it's done. Anyways, I'm sorry, y'all. This is based on the fact that I had that issue yesterday with the house. So
yeah, he's trying to get his responsibilities straightened out.
Yes, I do have a landline in 2026. And also, bro, hold on, let me say this, Jordan, because I have to say this. I'm actually kind of surprised to see you here, bro, because you're the motherfucker who claimed that I said that I was the end-all, be-all of Dragon Ball, and when I asked you to show evidence, you fucking took a tweet of mine out of context to try to make me look bad. You fucking did that. You took me saying, I'm so happy that I had a fucking cool birthday, and I felt like a leader, and you took that out of context to make it seem like I said that I was the end all be all of Dragon Ball, and when I asked you to prove it, you couldn't fucking prove it, but you have Jesus Christ and crosses all over your profile, but you're actually kind of a phony Christian. Get the fuck off my stream, dog. Get the fuck off my stream. Get the fuck off, dog. One thing I'm not gonna let somebody do, bro, is make a claim about me. And I told this motherfucker, I said, show me one time where I said I was the end all be all. He takes a tweet out of context. Out of context,
I've had
bro.
many conversations with you where you were like, I know my shit, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. Yeah,
But I've never once said I'm the end all be all, bro.
Right.
I've never said that. He took it out of context, and when everybody was like, bro, you're not even reading it in context, right? He's like, he asked me for proof. I showed him proof. No, dude, get the fuck, bro, don't watch my shit ever again, bro. I want nothing to do with you. You know what you should do, bro? Go to church. Since you claim to be a Christian, even though you're very dishonest, go to church, bro. Go to church. Don't be in this stream, homie. Go to church. Don't be coming on my channel ever again, bro. Don't reach out to me. I don't want to hear apologies. No, dude, fuck that guy. I usually don't go off on people like that, dude, but fuck, when I saw that dude's face, I'm like, no, bro. Dude, even everybody, when that whole thing went down, everybody was like, dude, you literally took what he said completely out of context and took his words completely wrong.
Yeah. Well, some people just have hater energy, bro.
Oh, fuck that guy, bro. Don't be showing up on my fucking stream, bro.
Right.
Get the fuck you, dude. Don't ever talk to me again. To watch someone else, bro. Watch one of the fake YouTubers, bro.
Why is it that the haters always like watch you constantly? It's so weird. Like,
it's a weird obsession, bro. It's weird. It's a weird obsession, bro.
Like,
no, but it's fucked up because I blocked his ass. He pissed me off so bad that day, bro, because he was so fucking dishonest. He was so dishonest. I blocked him, and then he wants to come into the stream. No, dude, get the fuck. Don't ever watch me again, bro. Or if you want to watch me, that's fine. Thank you for your view, but fuck it, I'm not gonna fucking talk to this guy again. Fuck that dude. And then he's got crosses on his fucking profile, quoting Bible verses and shit. Don't fucking quote Bible verses and then be a fucking dishonest liar and try to demean somebody else, bro. Jesus wouldn't do that. Anyways, back to Dragon Ball. So Kale is literally tossing motherfuckers out.
The key sword. Don't look over that. That's cool.
What?
We get to see Vegeta use a key sword. That's
oh yeah, there it is. Shit.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Dude, I saw that. That's funny. I saw that dude in the chat, and I zeroed in like.
Yeah, you did.
Like because I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that because I went to a movie that day, and I remember seeing that shit. I was like, get the fuck out of here, bro. Anyways.
This is when universe start just dropping like crazy. I think Kale like has like 4 universes erased.
In the anime version, right? She got some eliminations, but it wasn't all of these, was it?
Well, what Toyotaro did is he made it to where because she's so powerful and because there were some universes that already had some fighters knocked out, it became like a domino effect where she knocked out like a lot of the remaining fighters for universes that were around. Basically, he used it to like shorten the TOP, which honestly was smart within the context of a manga format. But anyway, she was so strong that she just started knocking out some of the remaining members of the other universes. So she wipes out, I think, like 3 or 4 universes because she just wipes out like some of the remaining members. And then with this guy,
and there's the thing. So in the anime version, Aniraza was like a sub boss. We didn't get Aniraza till much later, dude. Toyotaro, see, this actually kind of makes me laugh. Toyotaro looks at Aniraza and says, "You know what? I'm not really into this. Let's do something totally different." Totally different, dude. Like, remember how it took like 5 guys to fucking 5 or 6 people to get rid of Aniraza? Fucking Toyotaro has Kale kicked.
Yeah, because what happens here is
this is insane.
And they even explain it.
He jobbed her out.
Well,
I mean, she jobbed him out. Excuse me.
They were expecting a fusion like that to be their their final weapon, like their end all be all, to reference what just happened to you. And it basically what's supposed to be happening here is combining all their fighters into one fighter is supposed to backfire, because that just makes it easier for Kale to knock all of them out at the same time. So Toyotaro basically turns what was a strength in the manga into a weakness here, because if it wasn't for the fact that they all fused, Kale wouldn't have been able to knock them all out at the same time, and the universe wouldn't have gotten instantly erased. So that's essentially what's happening here.
But I'm just, yes, everything what you said is true. But what makes me laugh is that in the anime version, Aniraza was a problem. And in the manga version, Toyotaro was just like, I don't fucking want to. I think, honestly, this is him channeling Toriyama. I think Toyotaro say, you know what? I don't want to draw this big, dumb, stupid motherfucker for 4 or 5 chapters. So let me just have Kale one-shot his ass out. And he bounced him.
Well, he probably was pulling on Toriyama, but something else that a lot of people don't understand about manga production is that when he goes to do an arc, they tell him it has to be this many chapters to fit into a volume. So when he's actually designing the page, or even like mapping out the pacing of the story, he has to. That's what makes this job so unbelievably hard. He has to match the exact amount of pages that Shueisha requires of him to make it into a volume or into a chapter. Like, they essentially like give him like an outline of how many pages, how many chapters it needs to be so it can be like a volume for them to sell. And then he has to pace the manga to make sure that it perfectly fits into this amount of chapters so that way they can sell it as a volume. And he doesn't do a perfect job because sometimes the events like bleed into each other, because, you know, that would not be easy to do. It wouldn't be easy to map it out to where just this set of events is within this volume. That would not be easy to do. But that's another thing that's really challenging about your job as a mangaka. You don't have all of the pages or all the chapters you need to tell the story. Like, Shueisha will tell you, you only have this much. Like, you have to fit all of the events within this many chapters so we can sell a volume. So I'd say a lot of this, particularly like this chapter with Kale knocking out so many universes so quick, I would say this is essentially just basically Toyotaro making his job easier in that sense. Because the more universes he knocks out using Kale, the less he has to worry about squeezing all the events into a set volume. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. I didn't even think of that, honestly. I did not even think of that. I just think it's funny that it's a one shot and he's gone. No struggle. No, hey, guys, we have to work together. No, gone. And then here she is. It's just a domination. Like, let me ask you a question. Okay, again, now this is more so because we don't have an answer for this. This is just a guess. I'm asking you for your best guess because this was never discussed in an interview. So we know that Kale is not an Akira Toriyama creation. We know this. We've talked about it already. The fact that Toyotaro gave her so much. See, that's interesting. He gave her a lot in the manga. We're not even done yet. We have a whole other section coming. In your opinion, do you think it's a situation where he just wanted to be different? Or do you think that at the time, this is, remember, we're going back to 2019, 2018 when this was coming out. Do you think that at the time that Toyotaro either thought or was told that they have plans for Kale later on? Because it seems like for her to get this much attention, they're going to do something with her later, but it's already been X number of years and we haven't seen shit.
No, I think it is to build up to what they say about Kale here in a minute, about her being the legendary Saiyan.
Yeah, but that has to go somewhere, does it not?
Well, I think it does and it doesn't. So it can go somewhere in terms of Kale mastering her power and learning more about herself and stuff like that. But is it the next page where they talk about the legendary Saiyan? Is that like right after this?
It's around here. It's around here. I was still marveling. Yeah, I was
Is it
still.
close?
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
I'm marveling at how strong she is and what she's doing. But even Khalifa, who's her close friend, Kale is completely out of control. Rage out of control against Magetta, throwing Magetta. Even though again Magetta's on her team.
Vegeta had trouble picking him up too whenever they fought in the tournament. And
This
she
is
just
what I'm
picked him up
saying,
like
bro.
nothing.
Toyotaro gave her a lot. Throws her out, or throws again. Magetta's on her team. That's
Yeah.
Universe 6.
Yeah.
Dumbass, bro. So now it's just completely out of control, and
Yeah,
now
here it
they're
is.
trying to.
So the legendary Saiyan. This is something that I told you prior to the stream that we were going to have to talk about.
Yeah, this was not stated in the anime version. This is something that's
I
only
think
in the
that's
manga.
part of the reason they're giving her so much attention is because they're trying to establish her as something more important. Now, when people hear the legendary Saiyan, they think that they're not talking about the legendary Super Saiyan and it's the separate thing. It is the legendary Super Saiyan. It's just that it's so old that they don't remember it as like a transformation. So here, the main difference between the Legend in Universe 7 and the Legend in Universe 6 is that in Universe 6, the reason they call her the demonic Saiyan, or the previous Saiyan that existed, the demonic Saiyan, is because to them, when the legendary Saiyan lost control, that was her becoming demonic, or him, or whoever it was, becoming demonic. So the reason they call it a demonic Saiyan,
I think I made a video about this, but I forgot what I said. Go ahead.
yeah. The reason they call her the demonic Saiyan is because in their legends, all they remember and all they focused on was that thousands of years ago that there was a Saiyan that could put out immense amount of energy and would lose control and act demonic as a side effect of that. They didn't think about it as a Super Saiyan the way that Universe 7 does. And the reason that there's a distinction there is because in Universe 7, they idolized the legendary Super Saiyan. They looked at basically their perception of their species is the reason that the legends are slightly different, because the Universe 6 Saiyans are good guys. So the idea that somebody would behave the way that Kale would behave within their universe to them is demonic. It's not something they idolize or look up to. It's something that they look at as like a horror story.
Yeah.
Their perception of what the legendary Super Saiyan is different because they are different. They are good.
And but this is one of those things that the Namekian Book of Legends that it's lore that I want to know more about. Like, how do like, what do they really know? Like, what is their legend versus? Because remember, they say the legendary Saiyan because they don't know what Super Saiyan is. They just say legendary Saiyan.
Right.
Obviously, it's a little nod to Broly. We know that. But I mean, there seems to be a deeper lore here where Universe 6 has their own legend as you're talking. But their legend has to be different than the one for Universe. That's what I'm saying. And that's very interesting.
It's different because when they dealt with the legendary Super Saiyan, they did not look at it as a hero. They did not look at it as an idol. They looked at it as like a horror
the
story,
opposite,
a monster.
Because Universe 7 Saiyans are kind of monstrous themselves.
Yeah. So that's the main difference, and why the way the legend is framed is slightly different is because their perception of what a Saiyan like this would be different. To them, this would be a villain. This would be a monster.
Yeah,
this would not,
because they're not. They're civilized over there. Universe 7 are savages.
So Universe 7 looked at something like this as something to try to become themselves. So the way that they framed their legend, they framed it in a way to where we want to be the legendary Super Saiyan. We want to be this super destructive, out of control entity because that's what we believe the Saiyans are. So that's what this is all about. This is essentially basically kind of determining the difference between the prehistory of Universe 6 and Universe 7. Now, I saw somebody say a while ago that the Universe 6 demonic Saiyan was probably evil, whereas Yamoshi in Universe 7 was good.
It's possible.
I actually don't think that's the case at all.
Well, I don't know if I think that's the case either, but I think it's a possibility.
It's a possibility, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think that what happened was It's very similar to what happened in Universe 7, but it's slightly different. They saw her behave, or her or him, whoever the legendary Super Saiyan was before, behave this way as a side effect of losing control of their power, and they thought that that made them demonic, when really what was just happening is they were being so overwhelmed by their own power, basically exactly like Kale here, that it made them appear as though they were evil and as though they were villains. So basically the entire thing is based on a misunderstanding, is my perception of it. They only look at the legendary Super Saiyan and the demonic Saiyan as something evil because that Saiyan always loses control of themselves and appears to be something demonic and villainous as a side effect of that. And that's how I look at this. I don't necessarily look at the legendary Saiyan, because the thing about it is in order for you to be a Super Saiyan, you still have to have a serene heart. You still have to have a pure, serene heart. So whoever the legendary Super Saiyan was back then, probably he could be like Vegeta. He could be evil. He could be a villain.
Well, but we don't know if he had a pure word. It doesn't say you had to have a pure heart for the Universe 6 version.
Well, you have to in general, because that's how Ki works. If you don't have a pure heart or a serene heart,
what about when Vegeta said it's pure evil?
Well, what happened with Vegeta is his peace was disturbed by the fact that he was being challenged. Basically, his ego was shattered. So Super Saiyan as a concept and Ki as a concept can only exist if you take harmony and chaos and you combine them and you put them together, and that's what creates Ki. So the reason a serene heart is important is because if you don't have a serene heart like that, you won't be able to experience a huge emotional shock. Basically, when Goku first saw Krillin die,
right?
Okay, if Goku was like Vegeta and didn't care about anybody and didn't have a serene heart, he would not have been capable of experiencing the intense emotional shock that he experienced that caused him to go into Super Saiyan. So essentially what I'm saying is, whoever the legendary Saiyan was before had to have been receptive to some sort of huge emotional shock. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to become a Super Saiyan back then. So to me, it's more likely that the entire legend, because the entire legend of Universe 7 is also based on a misunderstanding as well. Yamoshi was not an evil Saiyan, but Vegeta thinks that he was, and thinks that all Saiyans should be evil like him or aspire to be something like him. Because Yamoshi lost control, they saw how he behaved when he lost control, and they idolized that and looked up to that and thought that that's what the Saiyans were supposed to be. And I think it's a very, very similar thing here, except instead of idolizing the Saiyan, they look at it as like a villainous, demonic entity. And I think that that's essentially what's happening here, and why they're making such a big deal out of the fact that Kale loses control. And the fact, and Kaba also says here in just a minute, back then, the Saiyan that they dealt with basically destroyed themselves. Their energy got so they became so overpowered with their energy that they self-destructed.
Yeah, Khalifa says that at the top up here.
Yeah. So essentially, the purpose of all of this is essentially reinforce, the mechanics of the legend, but also the mechanics of how Ki in itself works. So there's a lot of nuance to it.
We spent a lot of time on just those two panels, bro. This is gonna be a long one. We're an hour in and we're only 2 chapters.
That's okay. I pre-read it. It's fine.
No, I know it's fine. I'm just saying that's a lot and the problem is, there's no this doesn't get followed up on. At least not yet. It doesn't get followed up on. Yeah, as far as finding out what that backstory is. With them, I've always just felt like the whole joke, if you want to put it that way, is that Universe 6 is backwards, but not always in a bad way. The Saiyans of Universe 7 were all Neanderthals, and the ones of Universe 6 are all civilized, and so they're going to view things just differently. It's going to be backwards. So they but again, the question is, what really happened? I mean, we know we have what we talked about already, but what really happened? And then the other real mystery is, and this is something, again, we may never have the answer to, is was this a Toriyama idea or a Toyotaro idea? Specifically, this line, like these lines right here. It's
Well,
never been.
I think they collectively together had time to flesh out Kale more by the time this ran around. So maybe it was just something they all kind of talked about and like came to the conclusion that they should do with Kale.
I mean, but it's not a Toriyama character. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
So
doesn't matter. Toriyama can still give his input on it, even if he's not a Toriyama character. They
No,
can still have
I'm
still
sure.
have meetings with him and be like, "What should we do with this character?" You know.
But there's
And
also
they
a
do
possibility that Toyotaro just went into business for himself. That's the other thing. Like we don't know.
Yeah, it's true, but he would still have to ask Toriyama's permission though, because Toriyama's the actually Toyotaro talked about this in an interview. He said that he was so uncomfortable with adding lore to the Dragon Ball universe that he actually felt like he was annoying to Toriyama because he had to constantly go and
I
talk
can
to him.
understand him feeling like that.
Like he felt like he was annoying to Toriyama because he had to constantly go to him and be like, "Is this okay? Is this okay?" You know, so
Yeah, this is damn true. No, and I can understand where he's coming from. I really can. Dustin says, my favorite character introduced from this arc was Kato Pesla. Loved his Power Ranger form and style. Who was y'all's favorite jobber? Mine was Dr. Rota, but only in the anime. I do love Kato Pesla. What about you? Do you have a favorite jobber?
I like
Aniraza was a funny one.
It means if you're just referring to people who got easily knocked out with
jobbers, jabronis.
I think the scene where 17 knocks the bird out, like the guy who can fly, the green bird guy.
Right.
I love that scene because 17 just like sees him flying in the air and he's like, "That guy's still in here?" And then he just like knocks him out. It's so funny because he literally just like notices that he's flying and he's like, "Nah, he doesn't need to be still here," and he just knocks him off the stage. It's
right.
So funny.
That was good. Yeah, Pez, Dragon Ball in Depth is the best series on here. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. And there's more of those to come. Trust me. I'm doing a breakdown. There's a little teaser. Speaking of, because I mentioned Christians earlier with that jack off. I'm doing a video that nobody on YouTube has dared to do yet. It's not done yet. It's a work in progress. It's about how Gohan versus Cell took inspiration from the Judeo-Christian Holy Trinity. And there's a lot there. And the anime version really adds to it. Koyama's version really, really hammers that point home. Nobody's done a video about that. Nobody, bro. Nobody. And unlike other people...
It'd be a cool follow-up to your videos about Piccolo Daimao, too, because you did a lot of videos about like the Christian symbolism and mythological stuff behind him, too.
Well, in the Piccolo in Depth, yeah, I did. I'm talking about specifically Gohan in the Cell Saga, like
right.
Yeah, specifically that version of Gohan. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to repeat myself. Unlike other people on this platform that people seem to jack off a lot, I don't have fucking writers. It's all me. It's all me. So speaking of badasses, bro, freaking Kale with the uppercut. I love these panels, man. Toyotaro's real good at doing those kinds of panels. Vegeta's kind of mocking him for having his own ally knock him. Yeah, by his own ally. Now the Pride Troopers who are used to fighting together are all going to try and work against Kale. Don't even get me started on Kayla. Excuse me, Kale.
Vegeta points out
Freudian slip.
Yeah. Vegeta points out because she is basically just a lumbering tower of emotions and she doesn't really have a lot of control, that she's not really using her consciousness to control her movements very much, and because of that it's very easy to find openings on her. So essentially because she's just like emotionally dominated, you guys got it. Because she's so emotionally dominated, she's basically not necessarily fighting like a martial artist anymore. She's fighting more like just like a monster. So Vegeta notices that, and then Vegeta and the Pride Troopers start to notice that she has a lot of openings, and so basically she's not undefeatable, and she's also like reaching her limit in terms of how much energy she can put off with her body being in the shape that it's in at that point. So.
Yes, absolutely. But again, all this tells me is Well, not all it tells me, but there's more to it. But all this extra Kale stuff, man, Toyotaro really, really played around with this
Broly's
way
one of his
more.
favorite characters.
Well, I'm saying he added death to Kayla that wasn't there in the anime version.
Right. So, back during the AF days, he loved Broly was like he went out of his way to add Broly to AF because he loved Broly so much. And as a matter of fact, a lot of people don't know this, but right before Broly became a manga character, they asked Toyotaro if he could put any character in the manga, who would it be? His answer has always been Broly.
But he hasn't done anything with Broly yet.
He's such a huge bro. He did do stuff with Broly. He gave Broly a new Super Saiyan form.
When?
At the end of the manga, at the end of Dragon Ball Super.
I don't remember that. Were you talking about when he fought Gohan?
Yeah.
I don't remember him getting a new form.
Yeah, he's got his controlled full power Super Saiyan form now.
Oh, but I don't count that as being its own form. I thought that was just controlled, like he controlled himself.
Well, I mean,
which is what Kayla kind of does.
Well, Kale's got.
I did it again, didn't I? I called her Kayla.
Yeah, Kale's got.
Now I'm fucked. Now I'm cursed, bro.
So Kale in the anime gets a controlled version of her form, and they do consider it like a new form. Like they do like label it like a new form. It's like controlled legendary Super Saiyan. So Broly basically gets like his equivalent to what Kale got in the anime, but at the end of the manga. It's like a controlled legendary Super Saiyan.
I've got to stop saying that name, bro.
Yeah. Well, we'll be done with Kale. We'll be done with Kale here in a minute, bro.
Good.
You won't have to worry about it.
Then I don't have to worry about it. Oh my god. What is happening right now, bro? What is happening right now? Okay. So there's Potara that she happens to have, right? This happens in the anime version, but it's different. How do you feel about, okay, the anime version kind of painted Caulifla as being like an alternate version of like Kid Goku with her rambunctiousness, and Goku and her kind of have a father-daughter thing going on, like with Vegeta.
Well,
and
they do
Kale,
that in the manga too, but we kind of skipped over it. But
not like this. Not like it's different.
There's a scene in the manga where Kale says that the reason they all love Caulifla so much is because she basically has the Goku effect on them. Just to summarize it, there's a speech that Kale gives before she turns into a Super Saiyan, where she's basically like, the reason we all respect Kale is because of how she treats us, and like the fact that she like took us in and like encourages us to get stronger. So they do make a lot of parallels between Goku and Caulifla like early in the manga, in terms of like her having her own crew that she built as a side effect of her attitude and stuff like that. And then also they make some parallels between her and Vegeta too, because when Caulifla transforms, or when Kale transforms into her form, Caulifla basically says the same thing that Vegeta said in the Majin Buu saga, where she basically questions as to whether or not Kale was holding back her power to spare her feelings. So they give her like a little bit of character traits of both Goku and Vegeta. And I think they do that with a lot of the Universe 6 Saiyans. They kind of just like mix and match character traits to make them, kind of be their own unique character.
Right. No, and that makes sense. No, I've always liked that. That's one of the things I like a lot about like these new characters kind of mixing in with the old characters.
Yeah, Kaba
Mhm.
has pride as a Saiyan, because he's like the leader of the Universe 6 Sadala
like
Defense Force.
the defense force, yeah.
Yeah, but he's very pure-hearted, and he's a lot more like Goku in terms of like his morality and his actual personality traits and his drive to protect people and stuff like that. So yeah, they are like basically like unique mixes of Goku and Vegeta in that way. So
Yeah. No, and like I said, I like all that stuff. I've always enjoyed that. Dispo gets a little bit more shine here in these pages. They're trying to get the fusion going because Kale's about to get eliminated because her power's about to run out, and they put the Potara on just in time. I thought it was clever how they did it here.
Kaba sacrifices himself and pushes Kale back into the stage so that way the fusion can happen.
Because they have all their hopes on Kefla. So now we have Kefla.
So Kefla,
the first ever female fusion, all female fusion in Dragon Ball history, but not the first female fusion. Do you know what the first female fusion was in the history of Dragon Ball?
No.
The old witch and the old Kai.
Oh, yeah.
That counts.
Yeah,
these are the first that are two women.
Yeah, so Kefla in the manga is a lot weaker than she was in the anime. And the reason for that is in the anime.
Interesting.
In the anime, they give her 3 or 4 episodes to adapt to Goku before she transforms.
And something else that we need to talk about here is it's a totally different order of events because in the anime version, Goku had already tapped into UI Omen. He fought Jiren. All that stuff had already happened. Goku versus Kefla was UI Omen Goku's second battle in the Tournament of Power. Goku hasn't even tapped into any version of UI yet, and we've got Kefla. So things are in a completely different order.
Kefla in the manga never got to adapt to Goku. And because of that, she doesn't have the same scaling, and her scaling is entirely different.
Yeah, I mean that the TOP manga I would say that this volume that we're reading now is probably the most diverse volume when comparing it to the anime version. Like it really is like a almost like a totally different story, almost. Actually, it kind of is a totally different story. There's different story beats here. And we're going to talk more about the scaling of the manga when we get to UI Goku versus Jiren, which I think is the next volume because there are some big differences there too.
He taps into Omen in this volume.
No, I know he does, but the next volume is when you actually see them fight more. So that's why we'll talk a little bit about it here, but the next volume we can really get into that. So with Pride Troopers now against Kefla. Now the good thing about Kefla is Kefla's got the powers of Kale and Caulifla, but not the rage. Kefla's in control, and the Poltaras are very. If we saw this with Vegito. The Poltaras are very good at harnessing your power and not making you overuse your power because of they can contain so much power, like so much more than regular fusion can. So the thing about Kefla here is the speed advantage. We see Kefla here with the speed just eliminating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Pride Troopers. 6 Pride Troopers gone.
Yep.
From Kefla.
Yep. They're doing a good job knocking out a bunch of the fighters as quickly as they can to move the story along.
So if you include Kefla and Kale as the same person, because Kefla is a combination of Kale and Caulifla, does that mean that Kale has the most eliminations in this entire arc?
Yeah. I would say so.
Okay. All right. So Jiren, who fears nothing, and Goku's like, your friends are in a pinch. And then he doesn't care because Jiren's not about friendship.
Yeah, this is the moment that defines the difference between Goku and Jiren. Yeah. Jiren is so unbelievably strong that he thinks his friends are essentially useless. He doesn't need the help of his friends.
It's the opposite of Goku. They're very different. Yeah. The anime talked about that too. The anime did their own sort of telling of that. That's the thing. They got the characters right. And I like how Kefla said it's final boss time. That's a nice little line right there. Now we got to talk about Gohan. I remember when this chapter first came out. I was confused, Jordan. I'm not going to lie to you. I was very confused. We have Kefla, who's very strong. We have Jiren, who's very strong. These are probably, prior to UI Goku, Jiren and Kefla are probably the 2 strongest in this fucking thing. And then we have Gohan, who... saying like you, but I was born on Earth. Now, that's a very important line. Jordan and I have talked about that in previous Mangalorians. We've talked about Gohan's connection to Earth and connection to humans and how that's a motivating factor for him. We don't have to address that again, but if you go back and watch our Mangalorians on Cell, like in the Gohan Cell fight, we do talk about that. And
Well,
some other stuff.
well, also Earth is where the idea of cultivating your ki comes from. I mean, Yardrat has it too, but they think of it as
And Namek.
yeah, they think, and Namek does too, but they think of something. They think it of something as they think of it as something slightly different than the Earthlings do. The Earthlings all look at it within the context of martial arts and
Right.
cultivating ki within the context of martial arts. So that's another reason. That,
And actually, now we found out through Daima that the demon realm is the same, except they call it magic.
well, they don't even know what ki is.
That's what I'm saying. It's magic
Yeah.
to them. And some of the people in the demon realm, like the ones in demon realm 2, are all about cultivating it, but the ones in demon realm 3 don't care. They're almost like the peasants. And I always found that interesting.
Yeah. Magic
Daima
is
had so much
the whole-
potential, bro.
Yeah,
They could have done so much more with Daima.
I mean they still can, but yeah.
No, I know they should. I think they should. I like that stuff. Okay, so it says here, sign of Son Goku's awakening. So we're almost there. This Gohan, so Topo's about to step up against Vegeta, and then we have Gohan versus Kefla. Like I said, when this came out, I was confused. I did not understand that Kefla and Gohan. I didn't understand how Kefla and Gohan were able to fight like this. I didn't. I'm gonna get to my point. I didn't understand how Gohan was able to keep up with Kefla.
Right.
The thing people have to remember, like legit, dude, is that the manga is a different continuity and different scaling. Like Jordan said, Kefla is not as strong in the manga as she is in the anime.
Yep.
And there's also more going on with Gohan. But do you have any comments so far as we get
Well,
into this?
yeah, I have quite a bit to say. So, they are different continuities. You're definitely right about that. But Toyotaro did say when he was doing the Tournament of Power and a lot of these arcs that he did watch the anime, and you know this because we talked about it in previous Mangalorians. He did watch the anime to gain inspiration for what was going to happen in the manga. Like essentially, the manga is still in some sense an adaptation of the anime. He just changes things up. So you have to remember that in the back of his mind, he is thinking about the training that Gohan went through in the anime. Okay. So, and that's because that is the only point of reference that we have in terms of like how Gohan made this much progress. That is the only point of reference we have.
That's exactly right. He has to have. So it's implied that Gohan trained even harder in the manga version off screen. Now, here's the thing, though. Did Toyotaro in 2018, 2019 have foreknowledge of Toriyama's writing in Superhero of Gohan Beast? I'm going to say no. I do not think that Toyotaro knew. I think it was a happy accident.
Yeah.
But it is a possibility. It is possible. I think it's possible that he knew that something was going to happen with Gohan.
Well, he did because in the anime, when Gohan and Goku are fighting right after Gohan trains with Piccolo.
That's right. He says, I'm going to find a new form.
Yeah, he says, I'm working on the ultimate form that nobody's ever seen before.
That's right. He does say that. But that's anime.
And then in the manga, here in just a minute, there's this line where he says, I choose to evolve as an Earthling, which is a mistranslation that Cypher DB pointed out. But anyway, so right up here, Piccolo.
Right here, where he says, I chose to keep evolving as a human, not a Saiyan.
Yeah, that is a mistranslation. What he actually says is, because here's the thing. There's a lot of context to this conversation that people ignore. She asks Gohan if he's going to use Super Saiyan. He says no. He says, I don't need it anymore. I'm not relying on my Saiyan blood. Now, when he says that, he's not saying that he's not relying on his Saiyan blood at all within the context.
No, he's using Ultimate.
Yeah, within the benefits of his... He is referring to Ultimate. He is. He's talking about he's not going to use Super Saiyan because Super Saiyan is a Saiyan exclusive transformation. And also, The mistranslation part is he does not say, I choose to keep evolving as a human. He actually says in the actual Japanese translation, he says, I choose to keep evolving down my own path. Okay, so it's a
That's
little
a
bit
bad mistranslation, bro.
it's a little bit different because it makes it seem
that's a lot different, Jordan. Holy shit, that's a lot different.
It makes it seem as though there's like this separation between Gohan focusing on the Saiyan aspects of who he is and the human
Jordan,
aspects.
he has Mazoku training. Like, he could be talking about that. Like, that is a horrible mistranslation. That's not a little bit. That's a hell of a difference.
Yeah, it does make a huge difference because you're right. It does basically kind of completely discount the idea that he could also be talking about his training from Piccolo. That's true.
Yeah, because he's the only character that has proper Mazoku training and then Earthling training through Goku and Saiyan training and some Supreme Kai training. So he's got a lot of hybrids.
Viz is the one that messed up the translation here. It's not a fan translation.
This is not a fan translation. We're using the Viz translations for the stream because that's the ones that are the easiest to find. Yeah.
So speaking of the Mozoku training, if you go up here to the top left, Piccolo says that, and this is in reference to what happened in the anime. Okay, they are different continuities, but what Piccolo is talking about here is the training session that Gohan and Piccolo had prior to the Tournament of Power, whenever he awakens his battle instincts again. So, so there's something that Piccolo says here that's very important. Now, if you go and you watch the anime, which I highly suggest you do because Toyotaro used it as a reference for this scene, Piccolo tells Gohan, he says, it is pointless for you to train and get stronger if you cannot evoke your original strength. And what he means by that, he's not necessarily discouraging Gohan to train. He's basically just saying, all you're doing when you train is toughening up your body so you can withstand your energy. But if you can't use your mind to correctly tap into your energy, toughening up your body is not going to suffice. So essentially, there are layers to Gohan's development here. In ROF, whenever Gohan went through what he went through in ROF, that was his body-themed lesson. That was him learning, basically, during the Buu Saga, when Gohan first got the Z-Sword, okay, and he started training with the Z-Sword, the reason that Gohan didn't have to train his body during the Buu Saga is because he had access to the Z-Sword first, and the Z-Sword essentially prepared his body to be able to withstand the energy of the ultimate form.
Yeah, so, he swung it around for a while.
Yeah, so when you go into ROF, he's lost that body. He doesn't have the body that's capable of withholding the energy of the ultimate state. So when he tries to tap into his ultimate form, he can't do it because his body's not capable of withstanding that energy. Now, by the time you get to the Tournament of Power, his body is capable of withstanding this energy, but his mind is not capable of tapping into the place that he needs to in order to tap into that state, to tap into that energy. So his training is body and mind themed. He needs to keep his body in shape so he can withstand the power that he has in his ultimate form, but he also needs to have the right mindset in battle so he can not only continuously get stronger, but also use that energy effectively. So what's happening here is, because he's going into battle with that new mindset, that is the reason he's getting stronger against Kefla, because he's no longer being hindered by, the effects of his emotions. Remember what I said about what causes ki to happen within your body. It's a strong emotional shock and then a disciplined, controlled martial artist taking that energy and using it effectively. So that's essentially what Gohan has mastered here, and that's the reason that he's getting stronger against Kefla, is because he is in real time mastering using his energy effectively and mastering the mindset that he needs to be able to correctly win battles and approach battles correctly, which is what Piccolo was trying to teach him in the anime. So there's a lot of context here that gets lost, and this is something I was just talking about on Twitter the other day. This is one of the biggest criticisms I have for Dragon Ball Super, the manga, is that the anime focuses so much more on Gohan that by the time you get to the Tournament of Power and they start focusing on Gohan again, it starts feeling disjointed. It starts feeling like the build-up's not necessarily there because it wasn't necessarily there in the manga. Gohan wasn't as much a focus in the manga. They cut whole scenes from the anime where Gohan gets development that feeds into what ultimately happens in Superhero. And this just basically kind of mildly references that and doesn't actually show you that. And I do think that's a problem. I do think that there are things that they did with Gohan that the reader needs to physically see that they don't physically get to see within the manga, and it's only being referenced.
That's a problem because you're basically supposed to read the manga and watch the anime to get the full story, and that is an issue. That is something that it might not seem like an issue because hardcore Dragon Ball fans will digest it all, but it is. Oh well, that like when somebody says a great example of this when somebody says, "Well, that's explaining the video game," like Star Wars. That's one of the big criticisms of Star Wars. You'll go see a movie and there's a bunch of shit that doesn't make any sense. Oh, well, if you read the novel that came out 2 months earlier, no, that's not how it works. Yeah. So that's a problem. Now
I don't completely blame Toyotaro for it because he's doing this in manga format and he doesn't have as much wiggle room to expand on Gohan as much. So I'm not completely like hating on him for it or being like, oh, he sucks because he basically kind of did it out of necessity, but it is a problem. It's undeniably a problem.
So Hazen says, unpopular opinion, Gohan Beast is not an ass pull. And then Shaka says Gohan Beast mega ass pull. So, okay, just real quick, we're not gonna go long on this.
Into that until
but
we
let
read
me
it in the manga.
But let me just say this: Gohan Beast was not an ass pull. I made an entire video going over the history of what led to Gohan Beast, and I'm pretty sure Jordan did too because that was one of the conversations that we were having at the time. I think we may have actually done a stream about it where we talked about how there was a lot of foreshadowing to Gohan Beast. Now, it may have seemed like an ass pull because of how long it took for Gohan to actually get it so many years later. Yeah, so I do understand that, but it's no different than Goku becoming a Super Saiyan. When Goku first went Super Saiyan, can you imagine somebody saying, well, that was an ass pull? Where'd that come from? It's like, maybe, but not really. There's foreshadowing,
It's like saying Ultra Instinct is an ass pull because it was invented for the sake of the TOP, despite the fact that it references every single event that Goku's ever been through.
I did an entire video called The Road to Ultra Instinct.
That is what Gohan Beast is for.
And what have we talked about, like, recently on the last stream? People don't look at Dragon Ball holistically. They pick and choose shit out, and when you pick and choose shit, you look stupid. Trunks is actually stronger than Cell, but he's just slow, ignoring the entire second half of that fight when Cell proves that he's stronger, ignoring the fight with Goku, ignoring the fight with Gohan. Oh, but Trunks could have beat Cell if he was a little bit faster. It's like, and I hate it because people do it all the fucking time. And you gotta stop that shit. Stop it. You have to look at the entire picture. Now, again, I understand why people say Gohan Beast was an ass pull. I don't even think that they're like dumb for saying it. But you're forgetting not only what we talked about earlier, Gohan himself said, I'm training to find a new form that is unlike any other or whatever, right? Yeah. He didn't know he was going to get it during the fight with Cell Max. He didn't know that. And then it's, what's the other one? Well, Gohan, how would Gohan get that form if he didn't train? But he did train. He literally tells Piccolo goes, how'd you learn the beam cannon? I've been working on it privately. But people forget that. No, that line never happened, Jordan. That line never happened.
You don't even need that line. The fact that Gohan could fight Gamma 1 in base shows you that he has definitely been training, okay? In ROF, when Gohan was fighting Frieza, he couldn't even fight First Form Frieza after he stopped training. First Form Frieza was murking him in ROF. He couldn't do anything. And then in Dragon Ball Superhero, you got base Gohan going in and fighting Gamma 1 for like 10, 15 minutes straight, and he's perfectly fine. He does eventually go into Super Saiyan, but the Gohan from ROF would never have been able to fight Gamma 1 like that. So the idea that he hasn't been training is just ridiculous. It is actually ridiculous. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And
But anyway,
I want to add one last thing about this. I do think that actually Gohan discovering Gohan Beast, I think that actually helps this argument. I think that Gohan being so strong against Kefla actually makes more sense with Gohan Beast being there. Because if there was nothing there to begin with, it wouldn't have made sense. But there was something there. We knew there could possibly be something coming for a while. Maybe not all the way back to from Z, but for a while we knew there was more there, and it's here. So
yeah.
it's just that it came so. I think it's because it was so late that people forget that.
And it's also disjointed, like I said. The anime focused on Gohan a lot at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, and then there was a huge chunk of Dragon Ball Super where they threw him to the side.
Like eating ice cream with Trunks.
Universe 6 versus Universe 7, they threw him to the side. He did eat ice cream with Trunks, although there was some narrative there.
There was, but it wasn't what people wanted.
They didn't really do anything with him until there was some filler prior to the TOP, and then the TOP itself. Like, there's a huge gap there of just nothing for Gohan. So it's just disjointed. It makes sense why people feel that way. But, again, that comes back to people not treating Dragon Ball like one big story. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day. If you put Dragon Ball Super Superhero right after the Buu Saga, it would still make sense. It would still make perfect sense.
Except for the fact that Beerus and Whis are in that movie. And Broly.
Other than that, I'm talking about Gohan. Like Gohan,
the Gohan Piccolo stuff. Yeah, because Gohan and Piccolo didn't really get that many advancements in Super, so I see why you would say that. I mean, they did, but not visual ones.
Well, also in the Buu Saga, that's when Gohan gets his ultimate form, and that's also when they specifically state that he is not capable of having the same sort of rage triggers that he had in the Cell Saga, and we never get to see him have one of those in the Buu Saga.
Right.
So the fact that he got the ultimate state in the Buu Saga and never had a rage boost like that before that he could use in combination with the ultimate form, if you were to have that happen right after the Buu Saga, people wouldn't be calling it an ass pull as much.
You're right.
Because within that arc, you get to see Gohan blatantly say, I can't have rage boosts like that anymore. He doesn't have one within that arc, and that's also where he gets his ultimate form. So because Beast is a combination of those two things, if the arc came right after that, people would be like, oh, well, this makes perfect sense. But because it happened, like you said,
so long, decades, literally decades. I mean, people first saw Ultimate Gohan in like 1995, and Superhero was 2022. I mean, obviously most of us discovered it after, but still, it's a long time. Yeah. But the reality, folks, is what really took out Gohan is what takes out most men. After the Buu Saga ended, Videl put it right here in his face. She put it right there, bro, and that was the end of his training, bro. I remember I read a comment once in 2015 because somebody asked about Gohan back then. And, why is he so weak or whatever, right? This is like a Q&A. And somebody in the comments wrote, Videl pussy too good. And I was like, that's probably it.
Well, at the very beginning of Dragon Ball Super, Videl buys Gohan a book. And she's like, I want you to study so I can have a scholar as arm candy, essentially. Like, people give Gohan crap.
They blame Chi-Chi, even though it was most of the anime that made Chi-Chi like that.
Yeah, people blame Chi-Chi, but actually in Super, right off the bat, Videl is like, I want you to be a scholar. Study. Like, she's literally like pushing it on him from like the very beginning of Dragon Ball Super. So it's not just him being like, I want to be a scholar anymore. He's literally got his wife being like, study, do your thing, be a scholar, do whatever you want. So,
Bob Zor says, cosplay finger puppets is my next video thought. Well, I'm sure the ones that you want are going to be on another website, not YouTube. 12th Crashmaster, off topic, but these off-topic questions. But guys, do what I do with FNAF. I don't know what's FNAF.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, canon debates multiple continuities, and I have to solve it all because people don't look at the franchise holistically either. We need more people like you two in more places. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. I appreciate that's very kind of you, and I agree. The problem is that people are very stubborn. It's Because the thing about people, we talk a lot about ego on here, and you know, it's very funny that when you look at the loser boards, so to speak, the big reputation that I have is that I have a big ego. When in actuality, what I really have is confidence, being somebody who studied this shit for 27 fucking years. That's what that really is. Ego is when you've watched Toonami a couple times 30 years ago when you were a little kid, and you're gonna think you're some fucking scholar now.
Everything. Yeah.
And you know everything. And that's ego. That's actually ego. Ego is me going to Steph Curry and saying, hey, I can shoot a three better than you.
Right.
That's ego. That's ego. So if I'm the Steph Curry of Dragon Ball and you want to shoot threes, maybe it's time that you fucking study the shit a little deeper. And that sounds egotistical, but it's not. There's no ego there. This is not a situation where, like, you know,
it's the reality. It's the reality.
Yeah, and being somebody who knows a lot about Dragon Ball, it's not like it's, you know, it's been something I've been able to turn to a successful business, but it's not like it's the only thing of who I am as a person. Like there's way bigger things in the world that I care about than Dragon Ball when it comes to like real life shit. You know what I mean? As long as my friends and family are happy. But it does irritate me that people don't even know what the fuck this ego shit is. Because the thing about me is, when I speak about Dragon Ball, I tend to get very animated. And I do that because I'm an entertainer and I like to entertain people. And I like to do rants and rambles so people find it funny. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay being the fucking angry guy. In reality, I'm not really all that angry. That's the truth. I'm really not. A lot of it is exaggerated for the camera. But at the same time, though, this ego thing is because when I speak about Dragon Ball, I say it very, very confidently. I say it like very directly. I don't wishy-wash. I don't, oh, well, you know, it's possible. No, if you have a stupid theory, I'm going to say your theory sucks. Right. I'm sorry, but, you know, it is what it is.
You're not scared to say that to anybody either. Like,
nobody, bro.
It doesn't matter if it's your friends, people you love. Like, if you will criticize anybody. Like, it doesn't matter.
But not in like...
Not in
like
way.
not in the mean way, yeah. And so it is what it is. It is what it is. It's just but it just the real ego, bro, is when you clearly don't know what you're talking about, but you want to pretend like you do. If I didn't know what I was talking about, then you can say it's ego. But I know what I'm talking about. So here comes big ass fucking Topo and Vegeta.
He's giving Vegeta hell. He literally calls Vegeta a freaking lesser being.
and you know Vegeta doesn't like that, bro. Speaking of ego. It's
the 2 second fiddles fighting each other.
Yeah, right. The number 2 guys, right. And then Gohan and Kefla going at it. Again, like we talked about earlier, I think that Beast Gohan, excuse me, made this make more sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But over here, Kefla's like, damn, even Fuse, we couldn't beat a single Saiyan. There's no measuring up to your almighty universe. It's our fate to be obliterated. That's just how it is. Which is a very martial arts thing to say right there.
Accepting their fate, yeah.
Yeah, but Gohan's like, no, I'm at my limit, bro. But Gohan being able to tango with a fusion is a big deal. Even though Kefla's not as strong as the anime version, still a very big deal. So both Gohan and Kefla are double eliminated, bro.
Yep, and now Universe 6 is gone.
Yep, and Champa cusses Beerus out, kind of, sort of, and he says
that he's a failure of a brother, which is sad.
It's sad. I will say I don't like that. I like the anime version more because when Champa gets wiped, Beerus actually shows care and emotion, and that's something we never see.
He does show care and emotion here, but it's just
I don't see it. Not like in the anime where he was like he had this look on his face like fuck.
Well, you go to the next page, you'll see he does kind of because he hasn't been erased yet.
05 finish, bro. 05 finish. Damn it, Geekdom. What an egomaniac correcting that guy, even though you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, this part right here? I
Yeah.
don't think that's him showing care, bro. Not like it's
Well,
not like in the anime. The anime version,
in the
he
anime,
really.
he gets really silent, and then Whis is like, "Are you okay?" Like, and then he's just like, "Whatever." But like, I think the fact that they have this like, here's the thing: when I look at this, I don't think of them as like hating each other. I think of they're like,
Sibling rivalry?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, they
yes,
don't hate each other.
yeah.
But
I
he
think,
really felt it.
yeah, I do think that. I do think that Beerus like goes out of his way to like make himself seem less emotional than he actually is, or less attached that he actually is, because the gods aren't supposed to be attached, for one thing. So like I do think it's kind of a front, because like Whis is kind of like waiting on a reaction here from Beerus, and you don't get to see it as much because they draw Beerus far away, like that little panel where right there before he says a jerk to the bitter end. You
Yeah,
don't
this
really
one.
get to see Beerus contemplating it much, but like you can tell that like even Whis is basically just like waiting on some sort of reaction from Champa. So I do agree that it's more emotional in the anime. They're going to make everything more emotional in the anime, but I like this because it kind of it reminds me of like a relationship that a lot of brothers have, where they just kind of they care about each other, but they also are very very critical of each other, and they use that as a disguise for their actual feelings. So
Yeah, that Vegeta and Goku sometimes.
yeah.
Goku versus Jiren round 2. Goku's trying to
This
do
was
what
a
he
super controversial scene. This is like an unbelievably controversial scene.
is. This the one because people thought it was Kaioken?
Well,
Is
no,
that
it's because
was
they
it?
thought it was weird that Goku would just try to power up instead of using a. Basically, people misunderstand what Goku is doing here, and how basically, yes, it is because it's like Kaioken, but people think that
Well,
it's out
I
of.
mean, right here, Krillin even says the Kaioken after all
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
time.
It's the same principle as the Kaioken, where he's
That's
trying
what
to.
that's what Tenshin Han says. Yeah,
Yeah, he's trying to use how ki is generated, which I explained to you guys earlier. It comes
yeah.
from the
Which I
heart.
did a video. So I want to say this. I did a video where I said what happened. Why didn't the Z fighters learn Kaioken? And the explanation is literally this. It's literally this. Hold on, brother. We're moving memberships to Patreon. I've made this clear on every stream I've done, and you decide to sign up as a new member. There's not going to be any bonus content for members here anymore, bro. It's on Patreon now. Thank you. But did you miss that part? Anyways, Jordan,
It's okay.
this is like Kaioken, and the reason why they don't have to use Kaioken anymore is because there's no need.
So,
Go ahead.
so what he's doing here is he's essentially just like raising your key the way that you would, the powering up the way anybody would. Okay,
Thank you for the
and
membership.
and the
Actually,
reason.
I'm going to use the restroom, Mag.
Go
I've
ahead, do
been
your
holding
thing.
it in too long.
Go ahead, do
Explain
your
this
thing.
to them. I've been holding it in way too long. All right.
So the reason this is controversial is because they make a big deal here in a minute about the fact that Goku chose to try and basically destroy his body and use the basic principle of powering up your ki to get stronger. Now, the reason this was controversial is because they think that it's out of character for Goku to do something like this when it's not. Kaioken is what he used to defeat Vegeta. It was something that he was forced to use to defeat Vegeta. And basically what is being reinforced here is that because of the type of enemies that Goku has faced previously, from like Dragon Ball Z all the way up to this point in Dragon Ball Super, Goku has had to take a very specific approach to how he gets stronger, because the way that everybody else's approach to getting stronger, the way that everybody else that he's faced, previously up to this point, their approach to getting stronger was basically just physically tapping into their latent power and using it to defeat their opponents. Frieza, Vegeta, all of these people, they had a lot of latent power because they were strong naturally, and so they would basically just power up using their latent power and use that to destroy their opponents. And Kaioken is a very similar principle, although it multiplies, your latent power and makes it greater than it was before. it's still essentially you basically just using the simple concept of tapping into your ki and using it as a power source, which is it's a very simplified version of what what everybody does in combat. Now, the reason that it's important, your phone's ringing, Danny, and the distinction that they're trying to make here, and the reason that Roshi gives Goku hell here in just a minute is because there are different versions, there's different variants of how you can go about making your ki greater.
Fucking Christ, dude.
So if you have latent power, if you have
Okay,
if you
I'm
have
back.
a high battle power, you can basically just power up and tap into that battle power to defeat your opponent. You can also increase that battle power and break your limits in order to defeat your opponent, and that's essentially what a lot of these sci-fi based characters have been doing the entire time. They just tap into their latent energy and they use that to defeat their opponent. But there is another way to get more energy, and that is through the practice of martial arts and internal alchemy. So what happens here is Roshi reminds Goku, hey, I know you have been fighting a lot of people who just use ki as a power source to defeat their opponents, and they have all this latent power so they don't have to do anything to increase their power from a martial arts standpoint. Like, for example, Vegeta, he would use Zenkai to make his ki greater than it was before, or he would try to just push his energy beyond its normal limit. And a lot of these fighters that Goku faced in the Z era, that's all they did. They would either use Zenkai or they would try to break their limits by just powering up their energy, by just raising their energy. And that's where Goku learned this habit. Okay? Goku learned this habit from facing other people that he faced in Dragon Ball Z. Now, what he's forgetting is what he learned in Dragon Ball, where you can use different spiritual aspects, spiritual techniques to increase your ki rather than the type of methods and stuff that people like Frieza and Vegeta have used in the past. So it's not as controversial as people make it out to be, because Goku essentially mastered all of the martial arts based lessons that you would use to raise your ki in the original Dragon Ball. All of those lessons, all the cultivation that he needed to raise his ki from a martial arts standpoint, a lot of that he already accomplished in the original Dragon Ball. So when he gets into Dragon Ball Z, he has to use new methods of gaining power, and those methods are more akin to what he tried to use here against Jiren. So if you'll go a few pages in,
I don't know what the first half of what you said was, because I was in the other room.
It's fine.
But thank you for letting me use the bathroom, bro. All I'm going to say is I thought the Titanic was big, and we'll leave it at that.
See,
so
Super Saiyan Blue, that's another thing to misunderstand.
No, sold my joke.
Super Saiyan 3 Blue is also powered, or Super Saiyan Blue is also powered by rage. It is not, people think it's a calm form because Toriyama talked about how Super Saiyan Blue has
He said blue is a calm color.
That's well, he also said that he has mastered his ability to keep his cool in any battle situation.
Right.
But the reason he's saying that he has mastered his ability to keep his cool is because Super Saiyan Blue is still Super Saiyan. There's still rage there. It's just that he's mastered his ability to power up that rage and make sure that he stays calm in any situation, despite the fact that he is factually still being fueled by rage as a Super Saiyan. He's just mastered his ability to be able to keep a calm and cool mind despite that. So Super Saiyan Blue is not just a calm-based transformation. It is also a rage-based transformation. It is a calm and controlled rage. That's what it is. It's not a rage transformation. Or it's not just a calm transformation. It's not like Ultra Instinct. So here in a minute, Roshi gives Goku hell. He basically is like, where did you learn this concept of just trying to use brute strength to beat your opponent? That's not what I taught you as a martial artist. Will you go ahead and go a page over? Because I think it's the next page.
Here?
That. Yeah.
The Roshi, I think it's actually the page. Well, this is the beginning of it, is this. So again, I didn't hear what you said, so I'm just going to assume what you said was correct. I'm going to assume that.
It's fine.
So, okay.
So he says here, power powering up plain old fighting strength. Where did you learn that? Vegeta and Frieza. And the reason he's bringing up Vegeta and Frieza is because that is what he used to defeat Vegeta and Frieza. Is just powering up his ki, using some sort of third party method. Against Vegeta, he used Kaioken, which naturally amplified his ki beyond its normal limit, which is the reason that they brought up that this is a very similar principle to Kaioken, because that is what he used to try and defeat Vegeta. And then against Frieza, Frieza was the one who powered up, used his battle power to power up into different transformations and use that to defeat his opponent. So that's the reason that Roshi is referencing those two characters, is because those two characters are what kind of put Goku in this habit and this mindset, because those two characters basically had this mindset and used it to be superior to Goku. When they showed up to fight Goku, they were superior to Goku. And a lot of the characters that Goku has fought who were superior to him because they were naturally superior to him, and they had a lot more latent keys. So when they powered up, Goku mistook that as, oh, that's what they were using to get stronger than me. But really what it is they had more latent power than him. So essentially Goku has mistaken what a lot of these characters use to surpass him as the correct method to gain more power. And he has every right to make that mistake, because he's seen characters do that from Dragon Ball Z on. He hasn't had any like real martial arts based training in terms of like what he experienced in OG Dragon Ball since essentially King Kai, until he met Whis. So here, what Roshi is trying to teach Goku here is that the method that he taught him is something that he can implement.
This is really good stuff right here. This is all. I may interrupt you, but I mean, this is validating how ki works and everything.
Yeah. So everything that
he's learned,
everything that Goku learned from his previous masters is referenced here,
which I did a whole video about before this manga chapter even dropped. Yeah, wait, no, it may have been after, but it wasn't referencing this.
What this is referencing what's known as in Taoist internal alchemy. There is this thing called the three treasures, okay? And the three treasures are three different forms of energy that you refine and cultivate into greater forms of energy, okay? So first you got Jing, and Jing is like, it's like the Genki of ki, essentially. It's like your life essence. It's like your physical, your health. Energy. Yeah, it's your physical energy. Now what you do is you take that physical energy and you refine it into ki. Okay? Now ki is what happens when you take this physical energy and you channel it through breathing techniques and stuff like that. And also like that, like I said, the emotional shocks and things of that nature. A ki is what happens when you have mastered this concept of maintaining a calm mind and using that as a filter for the energy that comes from your emotions. That's what ki is, okay? And then after that, it gets turned into what's known as shen, which is essentially like spiritual energy or your spirit. And so essentially what's happening here is Goku is remembering. He doesn't consciously know this. And this is another thing that people misunderstand about Goku. Goku is a martial arts, what would you call it? Not a prodigy, but like
he kind of is a prodigy, though.
I mean, he is a prodigy, but he is a
expert, master.
No, it's like you have a natural subconscious expertise. Savant.
Yeah, he's savant. A savant. Yeah, gotcha.
He's like a martial arts
prodigy.
Savant. He doesn't need conscious understanding of things to be able to master them. He has a subconscious understanding of it as a side effect of being a savant who naturally subconsciously understands these things. So if you tried to tell Goku about all of these different very in-depth detailed concepts in terms of like how chi works, it wouldn't go through his head. he could subconsciously pick up on this, but in terms of consciously being taught all this and remembering all this, he's not going to remember all of this in detail in terms of it being detailed, complex information. He's just going to subconsciously and instinctually pick up on it because he's a savant and he can naturally pick up on these things. So each individual thing that they're referencing here from Goku's masters is in reference to those 3 different stages of cultivating your ki. Now, that's what all this is referencing, is the old school martial arts way of cultivating your energy, and not what Goku learned in Z and just, using your battle power and just powering up and using your power that way. You can gain more power through your mindset, through your breathing techniques, and through everything they teach you to cultivate energy in martial arts. So Goku remembering that is what pushes him beyond his limits here. Essentially, remembering that there is a spiritual means of gaining more ki is what Goku is learning here and remembering, so he can tap into Ultra Instinct. Now, a lot of people got really upset because Goku said that he was like the worst student or whatever here, and I'll get into that in a minute.
I have thoughts, but
anyway,
okay.
You'll see here in a minute. I basically just explained to you the spiritual aspect of what ki is. Now, that also feeds into Ultra Instinct. In martial arts, they have a state called no-mindedness. And in order for you to be able to tap into the state
and it's real.
In order for you to be able to tap into the state of no-mindedness, you have to master these 3 principles: Jing, Ki, and Shen. Because all of that, basically, like the calm, the emotional shock that causes Ultra Instinct, and the calm collective mindset where you shut down your consciousness, all of that is the same principles that you use to tap into ki. So when Goku uses the Kamehameha, he actually is using principles very, very similar to Ultra Instinct. He's taking an emotional shock and he's filtering it through the calm and disciplined state that he has as a martial artist, and he's using that to correctly channel his energy and project it. Okay, so Kamehameha and Ultra Instinct aren't as disconnected as a lot of people would think. They draw from the same sort of psychology, the same sort of concept, the same sort of teachings within martial arts. So Ultra Instinct is essentially the final stage of this. Because instead of just not allowing your emotions to affect your conscious thoughts, you shut off your conscious thoughts altogether. It's like the next stage of what Goku learned in the Cell Saga. Whenever Goku was learning to not let Super Saiyan affect his conscious thoughts, now Goku has learned not to let his emotions cause conscious thoughts at all. And that is the final stage of what they teach you in martial arts. And that's essentially what Goku is having to be reminded of here from Roshi, is that those principles, the same principles that I taught you that caused you to be able to use the Kamehameha, you need to be able to tap into those principles now to tap into more power and ultimately Ultra Instinct. Now, Roshi uses something very similar to Ultra Instinct, but what Roshi is doing here is more so, and it's very ironic because Roshi is a spiritual teacher, but what he's doing here is much more of the scientific version of what Ultra Instinct is. He's essentially just using the lack of conscious thoughts to increase his reaction speed, not his movement speed, but his reaction speed. Now, remember, this would not work if Jiren wasn't holding back. Jiren makes a big deal about the fact that he only uses as much energy as he needs against whatever opponent that he's fighting at the time. So if Jiren was not holding back, Roshi could not dodge like this. Essentially, Roshi is using a technique that increases his movement speed, and Jiren is also holding back. And that is the only reason we got to see this scene play out, is because essentially this is Roshi. He doesn't understand that Jiren is holding back, but because he's holding back, it gives Roshi the opportunity to take advantage of this and essentially give Goku an understanding or an idea of what Ultra Instinct is. So I'm done now, Danny.
Oh no, no. What I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I've had a really rough couple of days. Okay,
I know you have, buddy.
my like people don't understand. I have a really rough couple of days. Okay, so I like all of the Master Roshi lessons. Like I like all that. However, I look, as much as I love the Master Roshi lessons, and I like that's like one last lesson from the Master is what he tells him.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way I'm ever going to believe that Roshi can dodge Jiren. I just, my brain will not
I
accept
just told
it.
you. I just told you. Jiren was holding back.
No. Right. Hold on.
If it wasn't for Jiren holding back, he wouldn't be able to dodge.
He had to be holding back.
Yeah,
right.
Jiren
had
says,
to be.
Jiren says, he's like, I only use as much energy as I need to defeat whoever I'm fighting.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying that we've seen Jiren's combat speed break time, right? We've seen him do all kinds of insane feats. And so when this first happened, bro, I was very critical of it. And I said back then, Jiren has to be holding back because it doesn't make sense. Roshi can't jump to the level of a guy at this stage like that. But the idea is a principle because, and even we says it's a resemblance, but it's still not quite what it is. And,
because
and I want to...
He's not building up the amount of ki that he needs to keep up with Jiren. He's simply just using his muscle memory that he's developed as a martial artist for 300 years to dodge Jiren. It's not the same thing as Ultra Instinct. It just so happens that Roshi is so old that he had the muscle memory at his disposal to dodge Jiren at that time. So,
and for those who might be saying like, oh, well, Master Roshi's old. He's very knowledgeable. Whis is probably older than Master Roshi. You have to remember that these gods are like thousands of years old. So like, yeah. But when for human experience, Roshi's definitely high up. Now, Jiren eliminates Roshi because he actually tries. Right, he's out, and I find it interesting. So Jiren says, a man like yourself will never achieve perfection. It sounds like Cell, right? But Goku's like, I'm always trying to get higher. And this is essentially Goku.
He's like, I want to get stronger forever. Yeah.
Also, when he says he was the worst apprentice who never listened, I don't think I don't think he means that for his entire life. That's not what he's talking about there.
Well, no, actually, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about specific scenes from OG Dragon Ball, and I actually just sent them to you. There is specific scenes in OG Dragon Ball where Roshi is trying to tell Goku something, and Goku just won't listen. Like,
yeah,
basically, it's not necessarily that. It comes back to what I said about Goku being a savant.
It's on the screen.
Yeah, it comes back to what I said about Goku being a savant. Goku does not consciously absorb things, okay? He subconsciously picks up on it and understands it because he's a savant and because he is so talented. But if you try to explain complex concepts to Goku, he has a hard time grasping complex concepts. The reason he's so talented is because he can subconsciously pick up on those things. And that's essentially what Roshi had to get Goku to do here. He had to remind Goku, hey, you have a subconscious understanding of everything I taught you. Remember it. Tap into it. Learn it. Like, relearn it. Like, think about what I taught you all those years ago and use it in this situation. And, it's not necessarily that Goku's the worst student ever. Goku he does a great job learning from Master Roshi. It's just that he doesn't learn from Master Roshi consciously. He is a savant. He subconsciously learns it. And in his mind, he just thinks of it as getting stronger. He has a very simple mind. Is basically what they're trying to point out. It's not
he's always had a simple mind.
It's not necessarily that that Goku is a bad student in the sense that he didn't listen and didn't learn anything from Roshi. That's not what they're saying. they're basically just trying to point out that because Goku has a very simple mind, he learns by doing things instead of being told things in like a super in-depth manner in great detail. So that's all this is. Like, and that's the reason I never really thought that the line was that controversial, because it is factually true that Goku was always stubborn when it came to Roshi teaching him things where he had to like give him complex concepts, and he was just talking to him instead of showing him things. So
yeah, no, yes, I'm not even gonna argue that. Now here Goku taps into Ultra Instinct Omen. Obviously, you know, it was different in the anime version. Now it's an interesting sort of comparison, because I don't think it's fair to compare the two, only because the anime version had the benefit of it having those cool effects. And I remember when the anime version aired, I remember distinctly talking about, this is back in 2017, talking about how when the manga gets here, they're going to have to figure out how to do the UI effect, because little glowy effect from the anime is a computer effect. It's not one that can be replicated onto a page. So Toyotaro had to kind of switch things up a little bit and do things a little bit different. Now, if you're talking about what version, here's the thing. The anime version also has the music and, you know, dun, 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 you know, the dun, 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 dun. Manga doesn't have that. So the anime version's probably more epic as far as that goes. The manga version's a bit more emotional because it's Goku tapping into his childhood as a student.
yeah, I would say it's epic in a different way, because they make it more obvious that Ultra Instinct pays reference and homage to Goku's Earthling roots. They don't really do that as much in the anime.
Yeah, not at all, I don't think.
Yeah.
But also, I'll be real. I like the way that Goku unlocked it in the anime way more, and here's why. As much as I do like the Roshi teachings, that's not the problem. It's just that in the anime, he threw the Genki Dama at Jiren. Jiren threw it back at him. Goku had to use every single bit of his energy to stop it, and that's what broke his limit. Limit break X Survivor. So I like that. Here, Goku hears his master talking, and then just boom, figures out. I don't like that.
This is playing much more on the real life concept that Ultra Instinct is based on.
No, I get it. I just don't. It's just I don't like it. It's not as good as the anime. The anime I think was better because Goku was struggling.
In the manga, you're not going to get something like the anime. You're just not. You know, it's just not going to happen.
No, my point is that no, but you could have gotten a situation where Goku was trying to survive and then broke his limit. That, like what they did in the anime. He was so hold on, let me finish. Hold on. Okay. He was so not wanting to die that he broke his limit. Bam, he got it, right? Here, it's just he hears a speech and gets it. I feel like the anime version shows way more perseverance, and I think it shows like Goku actually had like a bodily mutation as opposed to a mental one. I like the anime version more.
And that's fine, but I will say in the anime they expand on it a bit more. It wasn't necessarily that he just broke his limits per se. It was also him maintaining a calm mind through that survival situation that gave him a test of the mindset that he needed to be able to not only use Ultra Instinct but also tap into it at all. Because whenever he gets hit with the Spirit Bomb, they expand on this. All the Spirit Bomb did was energize his body. It didn't
But that wasn't the original intention. That was like a happy accident. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Because he thought he was gonna die. Yeah, I like that. It was a happy accident. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I didn't.
Yeah,
die,
it was basically. It's similar to what they did in the Mora arc, where Goku experiences a huge emotional shock and then he controls it, and that's what allows him to tap into Ultra Instinct in the anime. But with The manga, they don't make the emotional shock thing a factor until the Moro arc. They do make controlling your emotions important, but they don't make experiencing a huge emotional shock and that in itself being able to be what causes Ultra Instinct a factor in the manga until the Moro arc. It's only
I disagree with this. In the anime, it's basically like Star Killer Base Force Awakens. It looks cool, but it's a rip off what was done before. No, it's not. Ultra Instinct and Dragon Ball Super, the anime and the manga, but specifically the anime, is nothing like Super Saiyan or anything we've seen before. It's not. Obviously, there's connective tissue there, but it's not. Like, you're objectively wrong about that. Ultra Instinct is the one thing. People have asked me for years, Jordan. I've given them the same answer. What is the one thing you like the most about Dragon Ball Super? And it's always the same fucking answer. Ultra Instinct. The idea, the concept, the fact that it's borrowing from Jeet Kune Do, all that stuff. Yeah. Ultra Instinct, Migate no Gokui, the mastery of self-movement, which is the real name. Ultra Instinct is the name that Toei gave it for marketing reasons. It's called the mastery of self-movement. That right there is the best concept, the best new idea Dragon Ball Super introduced. In my opinion, it is not the same thing. And no, Goku absorbing the spirit bomb from 13 is not the same thing. And I did an entire video. When that episode aired, I saw every Tom, Dick, and Jane make a video explaining Ultra Instinct, and they all got it wrong until mine came out. That's not ego. Go watch the other videos and then watch mine. It did 1 million views. And that's not ego. That's not ego. Like, straight up.
I think he's just saying it's a similar situation. I don't think he's saying it's the exact same thing.
No. And I'm not coming down on him. I'm saying that a lot of people were like, Goku absorbed the spirit bomb, and that's how he got Ultra Instinct. It's like it's like Super Android 13. It's not. That's not what happened here. It's not. Goku's nobody even mentioned the whole Goku trying to survive thing. So, okay, and also here's the other thing too about the anime versus the manga. The manga, in the anime version, Goku barely talked. In the manga version, he talks a little bit more. Time to settle this. He doesn't say any of that in the anime. He just looks at you, which I like.
Yeah, I will say I did like that about the anime. I did like that he was like a freaking. It was like the Beast was I don't know, like there's
hyper focus.
There's different times in the anime where you can see a glimpse of what would ultimately become true Ultra Instinct, where Goku's like roaring as a great ape in Ultra Instinct, and he's
That's
like,
right.
He's like
when he bounced off the pillar.
Yeah, he's kind of losing himself. He's using his nature as an Earthling to tame his nature as a Saiyan and use it as a weapon as a martial artist, and it is really cool.
What's funny about that? That's another. See, when we talk about this shit, it takes me back to that era. What's funny about that is I remember when Goku bounced off the pillar and there was that roar, and all these supposed Dragon Ball fans. Do you think that was the power of Yamoshi? Was that Yamoshi roaring at Goku? And I'm like, maybe if you didn't watch that shitty dub and you actually watch the show in Japanese, you know that every time that Goku gets a new form, including when Gohan does Super Saiyan 2, they play the Uzaru roar in the background every single time. Same thing with Ultra Instinct. I made a whole video about it called Goku's Double Voice Explained, which also did 1 million views. I noticed that I get a lot of views when I debunk people's bullshit.
So something a lot of people don't understand about the Great Ape and Ki is that Ki, because it makes you more emotionally volatile, it makes the Saiyans behave more Great Ape-like, even in their human form. So that's there's like a correlation between the Saiyans powering up and having more Ki and them referencing the Great Ape constantly, because that's where it's the emotion aspect of the mix between calm and emotion. The emotion part of Ki, they use the Great Ape to represent that very, very often in Dragon Ball. Whenever somebody when somebody is experiencing like a huge amount of Ki and it causes their emotions to make them like emotionally sensitive, like an animal or like a Great Ape. That's the reason that they constantly reference the Great Ape whenever somebody gets a huge power up, is because that's kind of the effect that Ki has on your mind. It makes you more emotionally volatile, hypersensitive to your environment and stuff like that, very akin to a great ape or an animal. So
yeah, okay. Now, what about when Beerus says that jerk Goku pulled off Ultra Instinct before me? Didn't Beerus pull off Ultra Instinct in the God of Destruction Rumble?
well, we said that it was similar, but it wasn't the full thing. Basically, he said the same thing kind of about what he did with Roshi.
But this ain't the full thing either.
Well, it is still Ultra Instinct in the sense that it causes him to gain more ki. The difference between what Beerus did in against the gods and what Roshi just did is they didn't tap into the ability to develop and adapt more ki as they're fighting their opponent. And that's the reason that you see an aura around Goku, but you didn't see an aura around Beerus or Roshi, is because there's part of that there's part of Ultra Instinct that they haven't mastered. They've mastered the ability to use their muscle memory that they've developed as ancient beings to dodge people that they fight, but they haven't mastered producing more ki by using emotional shocks and controlling them through their mind as a martial artist to produce as much ki as they need to defeat their opponent. So there is some nuance there.
No, I'm not a fan of some of the things they did here, and including this right here. So UI Omen, okay. Let me take that back. There are things I'm not a fan of, right? But this is different. This is a very different take than what happened in the anime, but not entirely different. So Goku almost gets into this form by accident, right? It's almost like a big accident. Well, like I said, a happy accident. Here we have them about to fight, and before they can even make contact, Goku breaks his concentration and ends up, as you can see, getting hit. He gets hit, he gets knocked away. So Goku, and it says, oh, it's not true Ultra Instinct.
Right.
It's not a technique that's mastered so easily. Son Goku merely found a chance to tap into it, but nothing more. And that's what that's what I was saying, that even Whis is like, this is not true Ultra Instinct. I think in this panel, this is, again, if you take this out of context, this panel right here is meant, oh my God, this great example, actually. People are going to take this right here and say, oh, Goku mastered UI before Beerus, and they're going to ignore the fact that in the very next page, we said, no, he didn't master it. So that's an example right there.
Yeah, he just tapped into it for a few seconds.
The difference, but there is a difference though, and the difference is that in the anime version, we saw Goku in UI actually look way more impressive, actually look way better. We saw him actually, fight harder than him just getting knocked down. So I think this is,
there's definitely more hype moments in Aura in the anime, for sure.
Well, sure, but like the issue to me is that, like, I think Toyotaro just in this case wanted it to be different just to be different. I don't see it necessarily.
Well, no, he just can't drag it on the way that the anime did. He can't. He literally doesn't have a choice.
But there's other things he could have done.
Room in the manga for him to do everything that they did with Goku in the anime. There's just not. Like the Ultra Instinct stuff that happens in the anime is almost longer than any other thing that happens in the POP. Like, they focus more on Ultra Instinct than they do almost anything else, like, in the entire anime.
Yeah, I just don't. There could have been other things he could have done to make it different. I just think he was being different to be different. There's other ways he could have gone about doing this. I think he wanted to just showcase to everybody, hey, guess what, guys? Well, hold on, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
He goes into UI, and then it's like, oh, look, he got it, and then bam, he doesn't got it, and it's I just think.
The only reason this chapter or this part of the chapter even exists is to just give the reader a understanding of the concept of UI. This isn't even what I would say is a good introduction to Goku using the technique, because he doesn't even really get to use it. More so, it's just kind of like an exposition dump so you can understand what ki is, what UI is. It's basically just a favor to the reader so they can understand these concepts a little bit better. I honestly don't even really consider this Goku's like debut of Ultra Instinct, because he doesn't really even get to use it, like, at all.
Well, I mean, yeah, he gets knocked on his ass.
Yeah.
So then we go back to Topo versus Vegeta. They get some panels. Good art here. I love the flying knee to Jiren. He wants to get involved in the Jiren fight.
Yeah, we skipped the Blue Evolution speech. That's pretty important.
Well, which one? This one right here?
Yeah, go. Yeah, right here. He basically says.
Yeah, he got the jump on me, and then he says he's breaking into uncharted territory, and then he wants to power up into Blue Evolution. Yeah, I mean, I guess I mean, the thing is too though that this is another one of those things where it benefits from the color because the color. It was more difficult to tell with the black and white version than the color version. But here we see Topo getting straight up laid out, and
this is the first time we ever see Toyotaro's version of Blue Evolution.
Yes, and even Beerus points out the aura change, and I think that line was put in there for the black and white readers. Like that's the reason why I think that was put in. But also what I like too is that in Blue Evolution, the manga, Vegeta doesn't get super buff and he still has his speed. So he's using the speed to actually get some hits on Jiren. He's actually doing better in Blue Evolution than Goku did in Ultra Instinct so far. Now,
this is another controversial thing.
Yeah, this whole thing is very controversial, bro, which sucks because I have a lot of things I have to get done today, and this is going to be one of our longer streams. Like, this was the worst stream to do when all this bullshit's happening right now. Yeah. No, I mean, really, I need to get off, dude. I need to get off, but we have to finish this.
We're close to the end, just so you know. We're getting
like I have a lot of stuff left to do today. So I lost my train of thought, man.
It's fine.
I'm not in a good place. Go ahead.
All I'm gonna say is that I'm not gonna talk about this for very long. All I'm gonna say is that when people hear this speech about Vegeta not having any masters, they don't think of it within the context of what he's saying in terms of him getting his own form. So when he says that he never had any masters, he's not saying that he never had any masters in terms of like Whis never taught him anything or anything like that. He's saying that he is forging this transformation based on what he has taught himself as a prodigy. So I just wanted to like point that out because a lot of people take what he's saying here out of context. He's not saying that he's never had anybody teach him anything. He's just saying that this version of Blue Evolution is something that he has created as a side effect of his his prodigious nature as a Saiyan. That's all he's saying. So
yeah. All right. Okay. So Vegeta. Now this looking again. Remember, one of the benefits of the Mangalorian here is we can look at things in hindsight. Vegeta says that the Ultra Instinct doesn't really fit him. He says, such a move doesn't suit me. The notion of being taught anything by anyone even, which, by the way, is funny because in the Moro arc, he learned a lot from the Yardrats, but we're gonna go into that in a minute. I had no master. I have no memories of my father, King Vegeta, teaching me the basics, which, by the way, there's anime filler scenes that say otherwise. I'm a prodigy forced by the fires of solo training. So I do like what he says here. Tremendous writing, I feel.
Yeah, but when he says Ultra Instinct isn't for him, he's basically saying that Whis' teachings aren't for him. See what I'm saying?
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is it's fun. It's ironic that he is saying that I've never been taught anything, which there's truth to that, I'm sure. He doesn't have masters like Goku does, even though Goku has taught him. Yeah, I actually want to answer and be like, I told y'all 2 hours ago that I was working, and you've been ignoring me for 2 fucking days, but now you want to call me every 5 minutes.
Right.
This is what I'm. No, I mean you're a witness, right? You're a witness to this, right? Yeah. Like 5 times, and I even told them did I not talk to him on the phone before we went on the air? And I said I have to go into work. I won't be available.
You did.
Fuck. You know what? I'm turning the fucking phone off. Like it's like fuck, dude. Like
you did. You told him.
Fuck, man. It's like this company doesn't fucking listen to me. Anyways,
that's obvious.
No, I mean, Jesus Christ. They cost me a whole day of work yesterday, right? of us
Yeah.
doing this stream, and now
Yeah.
we're gonna call you every 2 minutes. Okay, let me get my bearings again.
That's cool. If you want to, you can just go to the next page, and I'll go off for a minute.
No. Let me. What I was trying to say was that Vegeta. I'm struggling through this fucking stream.
It's
Vegeta never had a master, gets one in the moral arc, right? And then but he decides to go a different route, which is actually foreshadowing for Ultra Ego, but he does get a master there, and it's Beerus. So ultimately, I think that makes Ultra Ego, I think this here makes, again, benefit of hindsight, makes Ultra Ego more poignant.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a good observation. That's cool, because that makes Ultra Ego like character development for Vegeta. So that is good observation.
Okay, so Vegeta says, just now I was close to losing sight of what it makes me. I aim for the top playing by my own rules. So Kakarot can have Ultra Instinct to himself for all I care. So again, that I think is, I don't think that Toyotaro knew they were gonna do UE, but
UE just feeds into Vegeta's personality in general, so it works.
No, but that's not the point. The point I'm saying is I don't think that he knew at this time they were.
No, he definitely didn't. But it works out really well.
Yeah. So Vegeta's doing very well against Jiren. Let me zoom out of this real quick. Better than Goku is, but Jiren is still holding back. And then we find out that Vegeta was fighting around the universe with all these tough guys, even though Goku was still able to learn Kaioken and surpass him in their first fight with Kaioken, not without. Right. But again, Jiren is saying Jiren is suppressed. He's basically saying he's still suppressing. He's still holding back. Now Vegeta is not getting anything in on Jiren because Jiren is elevating his energy and taking the fight more serious. Goku realizes this. So this is, let's look at what Jiren says here. I put my life on the line in every battle I fight, so not even 1% of my actions are wasted, no matter how weak my opponent may be. That is how my master taught me.
Yeah. This is basically him confirming.
There's more about his master here than in the anime, but it is talked about in both versions.
That's him basically confirming that he was holding back against Roshi. That's what that is. That's basically him being like, I only use the amount of energy I need. I don't waste any of my energy.
He doesn't waste anything. Yeah, right. And as you can see here with the floating rocks, that's more of the arena being torn apart. More battles here. There's not much to break down here. Frieza bringing back the Death Beam. I actually love the way the colors look here, the way Toyotaro draws it. Basically, it's Frieza fighting the B team. I hate to say it, but it's Frieza against the B team, and then Goku and Vegeta fighting Jiren, essentially. And 17 is there. Goku saves Vegeta using teleportation because he was about to get eliminated right there. And then Jiren warps behind Frieza and 17, knocks them both on their ass. And they were over here, like, basically telling Jiren, like, hey, you almost eliminated us. And he's like, I'll do it alone. This is another example of Jiren wanting to do everything solo compared to Goku and his friends. It's not a team effort. I think that, okay, I want to say this. Another criticism is I think that while I love the differences between Goku and Jiren, I do like that a lot, how the friendships matter to Goku more than Jiren. Yeah. I felt like this point could have been hammered home a lot more if they had actually done more of that tactical stuff I complained about last chapter or last volume. Like if Universe 7 worked better as a team, then I think it would have played out better. However, I like the fact that ultimately they do work together as a team, and that's how they win. But we'll get there when we get there. We're not there yet. So Jiren and Dispo get bounced out of the tournament. I'm sorry, Topo and Dispo. Yeah. Topo and Dispo get bounced, and Jiren's by himself. And it's one of those things where it's like, man, we don't even need them. I'll be honest, bro. I think this made both of them look bad. I think this made Topo and Dispo seem so much lower than they actually are.
Yeah. Yeah, you could definitely tell Toyotaro was having to summarize the TOP a lot. Like,
Yeah, let me get these two super chats here. Dusty says the real DBS Beerus should have been a spin-off series where back before Beerus became a god maybe through the eyes of mortal pure of heart.
Oh,
Like
you mean like a
Goku.
Beerus backstory?
I mean, yeah, and Champa. You have to have Champa in there. So yeah, I
That
would
would be
be. No, I'm not against. I'm not against this idea at all. I would like that. Kiryu says the amount of people that call this bad writing because they don't understand Key. It's not flashy like the anime, manga UI
well.
greater
This
than.
is still entertainment. So you have to look at it from the standpoint of entertainment. You can't just look at it as from the standpoint of like absorbing information. Like if you're like me, and you're just like a super nerd, and you just want to, and you almost want to read a manga like a novel and absorb a lot of information out of it, you're probably going to like the manga version of UI. But if you want to be actually entertained and you're not trying to like take the time to like put some effort into learning, the details of Ultra Instinct at the time that he gets it, the anime is perfect. Like the anime is like extremely, unbelievably entertaining. I'll never forget, man, when Goku first got UI in the anime, I was like,
It was great.
I was standing up in my chair, like, oh, like freaking out. Like I had my eyes were wide open, my mouth was wide. I was just like freaking the hell out. I
Great.
was just, I did not have that in the manga. Now
That was a great night.
But when I read the manga, I did learn, I already knew a lot of this stuff, but it did clarify, their intentions with Ultra Instinct for me a little bit more when I read the manga. It does kind of clarify some things about what their intentions are for Ultra Instinct, and I think that's good. But in terms of entertainment value, in terms of like which one had me standing up out of my seat, looking at the screen like, oh my God, like the anime just, it just completely blew the manga away in that.
Well, the issue here though is what we talked about earlier, is that the Dragon Ball Super manga around this time had a bit of an identity crisis. This is really the issue here. And you and I talked about it earlier, but I want to kind of like bring it back into the foreground. Toyotaro does things to where if you watch the anime version, you get more context. So the manga wants you to watch both versions, but then there's other things that happen in the manga that are different from the anime version completely. So it's almost like he wasn't sure, and I'm not like upset at him for this. I'm sure this wasn't easy. I'm sure this was a challenge, but it feels like he wasn't really sure if he should follow the anime, do his own thing. It was almost like there's an identity crisis here. Like you don't know whether to count certain things, or if you can use the anime to explain some things, but then he does something totally different or changes something, and then you have to figure it out from there. So this is a very difficult volume to get through, not just because of what I got going on over here, but I mean just in and of itself.
Yeah, well, you got to think about it this way. They both have Toriyama's drafts, but in terms of adapting those drafts into a manga or an anime, they have different editors and different people who have to take that draft and make it into something that's palatable for manga and anime. So it's just not, especially the Tournament of Power. You remember the other day when we were on the Mangalorian, you said that Toriyama would never have done a battle royale if he was still the mangaka. You're right. It's just a difficult task.
No, it is, but that makes it harder for the reader because now we're not even supposed to know what to really, like how to actually read this. Craig Hampton, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way Jordan described how Rage works with Blue makes me think the anime only Super Kaioken and Z had some merit to exist. I don't think it's the same thing. Rage and Kaioken don't really. I think his Kaioken looks like Rage, but it's not really the same thing.
No, it's emotion. It's raw emotion. It's your feelings. It goes beyond Rage. It's like it's raw. It's fight or flight. Okay, that's basically what it is. But now what he's saying is he thinks that the Super Kaioken, whenever Goku fought
Paikon, yeah.
Yeah, what he's saying is he thinks there's some merit to that because of the fact that Goku had to control Super Saiyan in the Cell Saga, and that there was a degree of controlling that. Basically,
he's saying there's similar principles. I can sort of understand that, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, I would say Super Saiyan Blue, because they made such a big deal out of controlling a mass amount of ki, that's what made Kaioken Blue make sense.
But
Because he
remember,
had-
the blue key issues are mostly in the manga too. That's another thing where it's like, well, what are we doing with this? You know?
well, I think basically what I'm trying to say is I think the one from Super makes more sense because Goku is having to wrestle with more ki in comparison to what he was used to during Z. Like the idea that he could just use Kaioken to tap into that much ki back then as a Super Saiyan and not have to have the control that's required for Super Saiyan Blue, I'm not sure it would work the same way. But I do understand what you're trying to say. Like I do understand what you're getting at.
Me too. No, me too. But it's also tricky because Super Kaioken in the anime was. I mean, I enjoyed the scene, but there's a lot of weird things that, like, I did a whole again. Watch the video I did about why the Z Fighters didn't learn Kaioken because Akira Toriyama, who invented Kaioken and Super Saiyan, has a totally different idea about it compared to what Koyama did, and that goes back to the conversation that I'm probably gonna have on one of these streams, which is, are people fans of Toriyama's Dragon Ball or are they fans of Koyama's Dragon Ball? That's something that even Griffin has stuff to say about because they are different. They are different.
They are. They're very different.
Golden Frieza here trying to go in on Jiren, and Whis even compliments him on the fact that he knows he's not strong enough, but he's still trying it. 17. Now they're all trying to work together here to eliminate Jiren. But Jiren's
about over. It's getting close.
Yeah, Jiren's just too powerful, and he hasn't even gotten into his max power yet. Now everything's falling apart. The whole thing with God of Destruction, Toppo, and Vegeta's not here. It's very different.
Volume, by the way.
No, I know, we're almost there. Jiren, see, now Goku once again goes into Ultra Instinct. Now we see this red glow. Now Jiren is actually powered up.
Yeah, he's
and
forced to tap into some of his power. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Now he's after all this time. Now he's actually getting serious. Goku's in UI, and then that's the end of the chapter. We have some Toriyama corrections, and then we have the bonus chapter with the surviving Cell Jr., which at first
that was funny. Yeah.
I mean, at first it was like a joke that people were making. Like, what if a Cell Jr. survived? There were videos about it. And then Toyotaro made it a whole last little extra chapter about what was going on the island, Mir Island.
Tried to give Goten and Trunks something to do.
Yeah, and you know what was weird is in the anime version, they never even showed them. Like, if it was, again, Super and Dragon Ball Z had different showrunners. Koyama and Kozo Morishita did it totally different. In Z, we would have been cutting back to Goten and Trunks at least once every episode. Just like how when they were on Namek, they cut back to Earth and Roshi and Chi-Chi, then back to Namek. That's how TV shows are done. Super didn't do that. Super stayed in the TOP the whole time. There's no way. If Koyama was running Dragon Ball Super, we would have been cutting back to Goten and Trunks.
For sure.
Yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much it. So I think the next volume... I'm pretty sure the next volume is the end of the Tournament of Power, the beginning of Moro, so that's going to be something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited.
Alrighty. Well, now I got to go take care of my real life business, but thank you for being patient. That goes to you, Jordan, and to the chat. I don't know, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Well, at least you got some good news right before the stream. So
I know, but I also told them, please let me work and I'll get back to you. Please leave me a message if I can't answer. I know I said that, and they don't listen, just like they never listen to me. Even though I just hate when you're a customer and you're explaining to them how shit is, and they just don't listen, and like that angers me because they have my money. Anyways,
appreciate you guys.
Thanks no stream on Saturday. I'm going to be in Houston at Comic Palooza. Make sure you stop by and say hello. I got some prints for sale and pictures and panels.
Definitely go see Danny.
Yes, definitely prints, pictures, and panels. Anyways, bro, thank you again. Kako Daimon, when you get that CBZ link, we'll put it in the description. I'm still waiting to get that. See if you can do it this weekend.
I will.
All right. Anyways, yo, have a good one, y'all. Take care, and we'll see you next time.